Welcome back, Smite fans, to the fourth and final set of today, and maybe the last showcase, at least of some of, well, no, not of some of these teams. We have a whole double elimination. I don't know where I was going with that. I derailed my own.
Last showcase of a Wednesday.
Last showcase of the Wednesday. First day here at Scoremizer. I got Mifflin on the desk with me, and we are going to be jumping into, I think, a very interesting matchup here. Again, a lot of these topics, conversations so far this week for the first 3 days is going to be 4 best of 3s who can survive and try to make it towards Saturday, towards Sunday, where these qualifications are going to be. We take a look at the bracket. It's a thick one, so make sure you are used to it. If you were looking at it earlier, it was rescheduled from set number 2 now to this last one, the Kaolin Wardens taking on the Xibalba Storm. A bunch of 2-0s so far, and a few teams finding success. Whoever wins here will find themselves going up against the Gilded Gladiators, the second seed of the tournament. Not an easy team to make their way by. Loser will find themselves taking on the Sages down there in the bottom, as the Titans and the Valkyries have a matchup. That's a weird thing to be saying, I think, so early in the year, just because of the brands. Very exciting, I think, for me to watch. But Mifflin, this is one that has my eye. Because if you're looking at it, a couple of teams that have not been at least as high ranked as some of the others, and when you're looking at life expectancy in the tournament, for some of these maybe not as far as you would place other teams. But then you also look at some of the players and you think, well, that guy's got a little extra factor in there that maybe things can change it up. I think the Storm, I don't want to call it an unknown factor because we have seen these players before and we have seen what they're capable of, but this is a team that, especially as a unit, has a little more wiggle room, I think, to surprise everybody, right? MandoWarrior's been around, but he's been playing a different role. Dingodile's been around and has definitely been someone who has set things up, but when you look at, I believe, Globe/Vyye, depending on which name you knew them under, Valo, MaIachi as well, a lot of strengths, hidden strengths, I think, that could exist in this team.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with some of the lesser-known names on this team, I would say that those are cusp of SOC, SEC lifers, the guys that are nearly breaking into SEC, and once they get there can start to grind up a little bit more so. Otherwise, the MandoWarriors, the Dingodiles, the guys that have been around a little bit longer, even their coach, Guy J, names that you should recognize and have likely seen a fair bit. But I think you're right to say that this team, maybe more so than any other in this tournament right now, is likely here to play spoiler. These guys have a lot of unknown factors. It's a team that, to my knowledge, is relatively new as a unified front, haven't quite been playing together for an incredibly long amount of time, but have certainly got potential and have certainly torn up the rank scene individually. A conversation point that I've had consistently throughout this week and about this event is this is an event for a lot of these teams that aren't considered favorites to try and make the best showing as possible for their individual performances and prove that they can be talent scouted by these other teams that are a little bit more well-developed and well-established. I think that's necessarily where I would put Xibalba Storm. I think that's exactly the qualification I would laud upon them. That said, this could be a very close matchup. Sure, against the direct opposition, there's a lot more names that have got a bit more recognition behind them, but as far as direct matchup or even how long they've been playing together, I think this is a team that could really, really play spoiler here, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first set to go 3 today.
With the way that they could play, and specifically the way that they could be upset, as you said, it could cause a lot. It is interesting, again, Vyye now, Globe, is what they're going to be playing under, someone who I think was actually very impressive in these exact sets, right? Being able to see them alongside Valo kind of caught me off guard, guys that I'd never heard of showing up. You could see, actually, very interesting to me, MaIachi on a team that had one of his now current opponents on it, Elleon, who was playing in mid at the time, but also in there with people like Zen, like a lot of names that we've seen today playing on different teams. So you have to think, again, what are the sum of the pieces of the Storm right now is really maybe the question on my mind. We'll get to see that just a little bit. The team that is going to look to try and pick those pieces apart is the Wardens on the other side, the Kaolin Wardens. A team that, admittedly, I'll highlight the players that I think are going to need more of the limelight, because one guy does steal it a little bit. Tubahh there, Oceans on there as well. Joshy, Slaaaash, all phenomenal players, been around the scene for a long time, a lot of history. But then that guy in the second seat there, Elleon, who has been a force to be reckoned with in the jungle, shows up, plays well, streams well, and you have to think that even though we've seen moments where some of the shot calls maybe aren't exactly what you want, he is going to bring a lot to this team.
Yeah, we've seen Elleon in brief stints in the SPL, has had a very established career in the SCL, that's the Smite Console League, doesn't exist anymore. The SCC has spent a lot of time there as well, and a player that I think has just got a massive amount of talent behind him. Had he played his cards even slightly differently throughout his career, I mean, he could be in the SPL right now, as far as I'm concerned. A phenomenal in-game leader, and one that really does flourish in a meta that emphasizes individual jungle play, and I think that's exactly where we are in Season 10, so I've got high expectations of him and the team built around him. You're right to bring up Oceans and Joshy in particular. That core 2 was playing under the Xibalba Storm banner previously. They had spent an entire year together and had played very well, had made it to the majority of the LAN events that the SEC were allowed to participate in, and had I suppose here or there performances depending on the week. Went under the name the Fun Havers for a little while there because that was their prerogative, was to go out there and put on a good show. So I know for a fact, having had the opportunity to speak with Leon in the past, what kind of guy he is, my man is not here to have fun, and he will not abide teammates having fun either. A very vocal player who has come with one thing on his mind, and it's to qualify into the SPL. So I'm excited to see it. Historically, Elleon teams have all played very similarly because he is just a taskmaster in the shot calling. Will essentially micromanage just about everybody on the map, and that play style that has tended to develop is high action early game for the first 10 or so minutes into a very, very steep dive into objective play. It's let's fight, 10-minute mark hit, let's go group up on the Gold Fury, and that generally tends to be the pace that he has set in the past. So I'm excited to see whether or not he has adapted to his team or if his team has adapted to him. This is a much older Elleon than the one that I had to play with back in the day.
Yeah.
So could have developed that style a good deal since then. Otherwise, Magic Feet in the back used to be the jungler for the Fun Havers, now sitting in that coach role. Just a great personality to have on your team, a very level-headed individual, and I think probably could rein in some of those more eclectic, high-intensity calls from Elleon.
And I think that's always kind of been that part of the conversation, right? Which is when you pick up Leon, you're going to get a fantastic player, a jungler who knows what he's doing, someone who's going to help elevate the team, but you're probably playing his brand of Smite, and some of those shot calls, as we've seen in the past, while half of them are going to be fantastic, maybe even a little over half, maybe 60, 65, 70%, the other portion of that, whether it's 30 up to 50, is going to sometimes cost you a game. And we've seen it. I think actually last year's play-ins, I feel like we saw a jungle call, I want to say a Fire Giant call, that felt like it was a coin toss and just went awry.
He's won a coin toss.
Why either they'll win it or it'll lose them a set. And sometimes that's what happens. And so maybe reining in some of those calls, right, the calls that are shakier, and instead building it on this foundation that the rest of this team has, it feels like you get the best of both worlds. You get a bunch of veterans that are coming together. They're going to play maybe a more aggressive style of Smite, but they're going to do it incredibly well. And so I'm excited to see what the Wardens have to offer, and again, what the Storm have in store for us. Also interesting just because Ocean's, Joshy, Magic Feet, and not going with the Storm brand, instead changing their branding up. Becoming the Wardens here, I'm excited to see what those three, I guess Magic Feet maybe a little more behind the scenes, are going to have to offer for us here. Slaaaash, though, we haven't really talked much about Slaaaash or Tubahh on the other side, the two side lanes here. I think Tubahh versus Mando is one that I'm very intrigued by, and that's just because I think that Mando, again, kind of jumping into maybe a fresher role, especially with all the god changes that we've seen over in the carry role right now. It feels like there's a lot of unknown that could happen over in the duo lane.
And I don't want to gloss over that either, because every time we've seen MandoWarrior within the last 2 to 3 years, it was in the soul lane, MandoWarrior. He put the warrior in his name. So now in ADC, certainly not a role that he doesn't have experience with, has played it here or there throughout his competitive career, now trying to do so once more here in Season 10. I'm excited to see that matchup. Tubahh has been very successful in the Smite Console League, has also had a very good success in the ranked scene, has been playing ADC almost exclusively for as long as I've been following his career. I would say probably has a slight matchup advantage, considering MandoWarrior will still be having those growing pains trying to adjust to a new role.
Picks and bans for game number 1, Storm v Wardens. And I'm not going to be surprised if we see maybe more of this. Mercury banned out. And while it has been valued by some of these other teams, that feels like that is a Leon call-out up front. I'm wondering if there are any other junglers maybe that stand out as the must ban, but Ymir, Yamoja are going to ban that. At this point, we haven't seen any magical carries. Do you think we need to go in that direction? Do you think you can let them through?
I think now with how many bans have already been expended, you probably just let through the magical hunters. So you can grab one or the other. You'll get second pick, essentially, assuming that the Storm want to take theirs first overall. As for other Elleon picks, he's generally had 4 picks that I've associated with him very closely throughout his career. Yeah. Mercury, Thor, Fenrir, and a Wheelish have been his bread and butter for a very long time, and when Ao Kuang is meta, he'll throw that into the pool as well. I wouldn't say that this is an Ao Kuang meta right now. Very slow scaling throughout the early game, where every other assassin has just got flat pen built into their kit. You don't want to play something that can't exactly fight up early. This is interesting, though. I wasn't expecting to see a magical hunter ban, but if you were to ban out one, I think it would be Freya. As far as PvP is concerned, I think she is bar none the best magical hunter on the field right now. Damage output, survivability, very difficult to deal with, and we even saw from Zapman at the previous Worlds run in Season 8, the ability to initiate those fights with Banish are just so difficult to deal with. So the Storm, take that off the table. Having seen them ban out a magical hunter, though, that could indicate one of two things. If they don't pick a magical hunter here, it tells me that they just really didn't want to deal with the Freya, and that's the primary concern. They just value it very highly. If they do take a magical hunter in this first slot, that could indicate that the Storm just haven't got a Freya player on their team.
Definitely something that's maybe dangerous to have actually coming into this.
Showtime!
Thor banned out. Maui first picked, and maybe not too surprising given the last time we saw Oceans play. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, was locking in pretty much exclusively Maui if given the opportunity. And so stripping that away from the Wardens, picking it up instead for the Storm. And kind of acting as maybe a fourth ban for the Storm in a way. Also just a damn good pick as of right now. I mean, he has been at the top of the meta, I think, up there with the emojis lately. Because he can bring so much to the team fight. Really does depend on some of the stuff you have around him, though.
It does. What are you pulling them into? What are you CCing for? Who are you facilitating? Maui can do a whole lot on his own, but the one thing he generally struggles with is that damage output, so you want to draft something pretty strong around him. That said, Maui, one of Ocean's bread and butter as of recent. So the Storm, essentially, as you said, utilizing their first pick as just another ban up against the Wardens. It hasn't slowed down Oceans whatsoever, though, so it's likely going to be Bacchus out of that support role, with a Magical Hunter picked up immediately afterward. With Kronos and Oleron available, we do get some info on how the Wardens really value that tier list, and it seems Sol and Freya probably pretty high up on it. Sol, as close to a standard mage as the Magical Hunters come, has got great ranged initiation, or not initiation, excuse me, burst. With the Stellar Burst or even the Ultimate. Also very, very survivable with Disapparate and doesn't struggle with the same things that Freya does in that you can't deal with structures. If you've got the heat built up, you're a certified objective shredder.
Really interested in the Storm. You had mentioned it with the Freya ban, whether or not it was like, do they not have a Freya player, or where do they value some of these magical carries? With the Sol locked in, I was wondering if they'd get an answer back, because the second phase of bans could very easily knock 2 of those out. And instead, they go for the Cliodhna, they go for the Tiamat, answered by a Najah by the Wardens. And then the bans start to roll through Odin, and now the Ishtar for the Wardens. Storm ban out the Merlin. And TBD. Oleron has been banned a lot today. And so I was a little surprised to see Sol go above him. But on top of that, it feels maybe surprising after seeing him banned out so much to not have him get scooped up super fast. Do you think he belongs up there, or do you think that that's maybe a little bit of an overvalue?
I always hesitate to answer questions about Oleron and Cthulhu in particular because of how those two gods affect your draft. If Oleron Ultimate feels overtuned right now, if Sanctified Fields absolutely decimates, then you feel really good about taking that pick. But we've seen teams devise answers to Sanctified Fields and things like Descent into Madness, because those are 2 picks that I think are really dictated by their ultimate. As far as my own personal power rankings go, as a jungler right now, seeing an Oleron on the other side is one of my happiest moments. The joyful glee in my soul when I'm playing ranked and I've got my Fenrir locked in and I see an Oleron on the other side cannot be understated. And that could be weighing on the mind of the Storm here. You don't want to worry about Elleon rolling through the duo lane and just really putting his pressure there. We saw what Dame was able to accomplish, putting his team into very good positions by just camping out the duo. Oleron very easy to shut down in the early phases. So could be that the Storm just go ahead and forego this one. That's not to say that Oleron isn't incredibly strong and his ultimate isn't a phenomenal teamfight tool. He is strong. The itemization fits him very well. Cyclopean Ring in particular, giving an attack speed option that has also got CDR, just in my mind facilitates Oleron incredibly well, maybe more so than some of these other magical hunters. But you still just have to be so concerned about these early rotations from junglers. They can really slow down some of those picks.
Well, healing has been a very high priority thing so far today.
Don't make me angry.
Guan Yu gets locked in for the Wardens, brings that in. Of course, Naja with some self-heal, Soul with a lot of self-heal. It feels like the Wardens are going to have sustain going on their side. Not that much on the side of the Storm as they roll out their bottom two. Kaolin and Ram locked in. And this is not the first game of Ram we've seen. And even towards the end of last year was starting to be a pretty highlight pick. We can maybe ignore the pretty well-rounded, I dare to say generic, but that feels mean. Of the,
Very
I mean, it's just a
standard
solid,
composition.
standard. That's the more neutral term for what their draft is. Thoth gets locked in at the very end there. Not a pick I'm used to seeing, Mifflin.
No, Thoth's been in and out of the meta for a good while now. Will always bring that massive long-range damage, will always be a really good poker, especially around these Fire Giant dances or Gold Furies. Is deceptively survivable with Evade and Punish and the Hieroglyphic Wall, giving you that extended range. But I think maybe now more than ever, Thoth is picked because of his follow-up potential. Have the Windfire Wheels connect and just have it land into Soul's ultimate or Thoth's ultimate, or even potentially both, depending on who you've taken up there. So I think Thoth fits into this composition very well. And it's not as if it's just got to be the Naja facilitating the Thoth. That's not the only setup you've got. Bacchus knockup, guaranteed Thoth ultimate. Guan Yu stun, not exactly guaranteed because you could actually beads out of a stun, can't beads out of the air, but still certainly another phenomenal setup tool there. I really do like what the Wardens have put themselves together, but it is so difficult to find a weakness in the Storm composition. We use the term standard, we use generic, but we see it so often because it works so often. There is no one pick where you can say, okay, that's the one we want to exploit early on. Maybe you could make an argument for Tiamat because their early game is a bit lacking, but even then, largely mobile, has access to some defense, some CC immunity in the kit as well, means that you're going to struggle a little bit to actually burn through all of her defensive capacities and find the value of a Windfire Wheels or a knock-up or a stun or something along those lines. So if I were to say one way or the other, it's very difficult, but I would probably just favor the Wardens because when I look at some of these picks, I so closely associate them with the players. Oceans have been going towards the Bacchus very consistently. They've got great late game scaling, and I feel like the meta probably does fit this draft very well. Specialized to Season 10, I think is how I would describe it, whereas the Storm have got themselves a Smite composition that could have been locked in at any point throughout any of the seasons.
And it feels like one that can find success given what we've seen some of these picks do today. A lot of pressure, I think, on the Kaolin, on the Maui, for them to be able to step up. The real thing I think that I'm zooming in on, and as you mentioned, something that the Wardens can play that's maybe a hyper-stylized to Season 10, but you had mentioned like the Soul has Disapparate, a little bit of safety there, but it takes a little bit of time to go off. Naja, most of the time, if you have to get out, it's Windfire Wheels, and you don't feel that great about it. Thoth can get bullied. It feels like Maui has a hook that can really bully him. Is this going to be a combo that you expect to see happening a lot? Do you think that Thoth, especially since his dash can get him pretty far, is going to be in a little trouble? In fact, you know what? You don't even have to answer it. We'll just find out the good old-fashioned way as we jump into game number 1 with J-Mac and Charlie.
Yeah, thank you so much. Our final match of the day, the Xibalba Storm and the Kaolin Wardens in a final best of 3 to see, if I'm not mistaken, who goes up against the Gilded Gladiators in their following matchup after that. It's J-Mac and Trelly, and then Doug joining us for game number 1. A lot of familiar names really on both sides. You've been following the SCC for some time. You're probably familiar with players like MaIachi, with MandoWarrior, with Valo and Vyye as well. Dingodile is a little bit, I don't want to say new on the scene, but it's been a while since we've seen Dingodile jump up on the side of the Storm. Look over at the Kaolin Wardens, and these are players who have been slamming the SCC for quite some time, Trelly.
Dingo's got the tech, though.
He
brought the bracer and already set it down as early as possible so we can get it back off cooldown, helping with that DPS on the back camps and the green buff, that sort of thing. Maybe just helps out their clear a little bit more. But I do want to go off on a bit of a tangent.
Go for it.
And it's that I think Thoth is one of the best last picks you can really get in this current meta. If you're holding on to your mid laner and you know the jungle picks that absolutely dumpster Thoth are not being locked in. Fenrir comes to mind, just being able to chase him down with his dash, that sort of thing. And you know you're like, wait, I can actually pick Thoth safely here. I think this pick can be insane in the current meta. If you're able to get your Book of Thoth stacked up, the tablet online as well, it can be very deadly. His biggest issue has always been, how hard are you getting Dove? So I'm looking towards MaIachi. I'm looking towards Dingo. Can they get to the backline? Will Valo be able to go as well? If not, Joshy is going to have a free game. The desk already touched on it. Look at how much setup is here for this Thoth ultimate. Elleon with the Windfire wheels should just be free game, and then if Slaaaash rotates in, and of course Oceans comes with plenty of CC, I imagine Josh is going to be having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, Naja into big burst mage ultimate on the bottom end. I mean, that's just what you call a classic Smite there. I mean, throwing back to even the OG seasons of Smite, it was Naja into a Ra, Naja into Kaolin, just some big 1,000+ damage ult when mid-late game hits. You just absolutely obliterate whoever ends up landing back on the ground with this Naja. So we'll see where Elleon and Valo maybe try and put some pressure on these assassins. A couple of our sets today, we've been seeing these junglers get very active on some of these side lanes, maybe try and get in the mid and kind of getting that early pick up there. So I wonder where Elleon and Valo put some of that pressure. For Elleon, you're going up against this Ram and this Maui over on the side lane. CC immunity not existent for Dingodile outside of beads if he picks that up, or maybe like a Magi's. MandoWarrior grabbing those ones early. As is Naja, do you maybe try and put a little bit of pressure over there in that duo?
If I'm Naja, honestly, I'm probably looking towards solo just because of the way that MaIachi has opted to build. The Sigil early game is not going to give you that same amount of value as level 20 upgraded Sigil does. And you can already tell Slaaaash is winning the trades, doing plenty of damage and just getting better value early. Level 5, I'm thinking an opportunity to find a kill if you've got HP, and Valo's trying to make sure that Elleon does not have that HP to make those plays. But you're right, there is still some opportunity to look towards the duo lane as well, but it's very much contingent on getting beads down. MaIachi does not have the beads. He's got CC immunity, of course, but cannot just beads out of Windfire wheels as easily as you would look over towards duo lane, and you know Mando is going to be just primed and ready to click that one.
And speaking of MandoWarrior, this is not his traditional role that he plays in. When he was playing on the Anansi Weavers last season and in many seasons prior, this is a solo laner. I mean, Mando has mostly been on that right side of the map for the majority of his career.
He didn't play Warriors, though.
True. He was playing anything but Warriors. He was playing the Guardians, the Assassins. A couple times we saw the Hunters whenever those became meta. But it's been a while since I've personally seen Mando in the ADC. He did play it back in the AVGL a few seasons back. I say a few, I'm talking like 5 seasons back maybe, when like it was Medusa versus Cupid as a meta. That was kind of when Mando was essentially playing in that role. So seeing him back here at least has my eyebrow raised on how he might perform.
Yeah, he's definitely a ranked ADC player. He does like going towards it every once in a while, so not something he's unfamiliar with, and it looks like the Xibalba Storm do have some confidence in him with that role. But unfortunately, he's up against a Soul. This is what I was predicting. Will they be able to find the kill, though? MaIachi, I don't think he's going to be able to live through this one. Hits the ground with very little HP, and Slaaaash gets credit for that one. That's going to be the first blood. And this is the issue with the Sigil start. You cannot clear the waves effectively. If you are left untouched and you get to 20, you're unkillable. But smart call by the Wardens. Make sure to put down MaIachi before he gets to level 20, and he's a lot easier to kill.
I start giving you the script to start writing, man, because you called that one perfectly. The Sigil Tier 1 defense sure is nice early, but easy exploitation there by Slaaaash and Elleon. That's first blood for the Kaolin Wardens, and it gets them off to a pretty roaring start immediately. 1,500 gold ahead for the Kaolin Wardens with only a single first blood kill. Some of that is coming down to those bastions that did go the way of Kaolin Wardens on the duo lane. Mando and Dingo losing both of their bastions early on just from the pressure of Tubahh and Oceans. But I mean, this has just kind of been the name of the game for these Magic ADCs, especially for these Souls, man. So good at taking those down.
Yeah, Soul loves to just auto anything to keep her heat going, and turns out the bastions work really well for that, especially up against a Rama who, what's he going to do, try and out-trade you? Like, you just do not have the amount of sustain to auto-attack a Soul with full heat. With Tier 1 Light Blade, like even Tier 2 Balance Blade's not going to make a difference. Full Aussie, whatever. You're not going to be boxing up against Tubahh, and probably for good reason. You know, you're trying to get some itemization online and look towards late game. Book of Thoth for both of the mid laners. I really would like to see a Tier 1 book for both of them next. I understand anti-heal might be more on the priority here for Vyye, but if Slaaaash doesn't rotate out, you're not going to have to worry too much, but Valo beats us real early.
Does. Belly flop in, and then an ultimate right after the Intoxicate. Valo not going to be dead on landing unless Joshy is there to put in the final judgment and a second kill for the Kaolin Wardens, this time on the mid laner.
Yeah, and that's just going to be easy clockwork. You get those beats down early, you know that Valo's too healthy, or I guess not healthy enough to actually escape into the wall. So you just look for that opportunity. Now MaIachi could be in some trouble. Cavalry charge here, trying to find the stun, and actually finds it. I'm thinking that's a pretty easy kill.
Jump away. He's not going to get MaIachi very far. Ring toss off the mark, but Slaaaash has the final auto to deal the last bit of damage to the opposing solo laner. And now 2-0-1 for the Guan Yu solo Slaaaash, part of everything for the Kaolin Wardens so far.
Yep, and now you got to worry about that tanky Guan Yu. Who's going to be providing the damage to kill him? No one at the moment, but I do think that Valo still online just fine. You know, sitting at level 7, actually does have a level lead in the jungle. Elleon, who's been spending a lot of time helping out his team trying to find ganks, whereas Valo's been looking for that farm. It's been paying off so far. And Cliodhna, I think at the moment, with the Claw Shard, can do some great amounts of burst damage. So does have that opportunity to look for some possible ganks, maybe even towards the duo lane, because Tubahh's been stepping up freely and starving the wave, like actually just not caring about clear, knowing that Mando can't fight back. So maybe looking over towards duo could be the call.
Oh, Valo did stay in the wall for a little bit, got some poke over towards Elleon, but Leon able to heal that up, and now makes the rotation over towards duo. We'll just drop the shield buff, give that one over either to himself or to Oceans. Not sure which one will want to pick that one up. Seems it might just be Elleon, but does he go for a gank up against this Rama? Mando is sitting at the tower line, would be a difficult one, so instead, Elleon and Oceans will rotate through the jungle and try and strip out anything that's still left standing within the jungle.
And MaIachi finally gets some space over here in solo lane because Slaaaash is completely out of mana. I'm curious when the objective play gets started. You know, they do have plenty of pressure throughout the map, the Kaolin Wardens, that is, throughout over in duo lane, even in solo. But Gold Fury could be burned down extremely quick. We know how much Supernova can do. Dingo uses that landfall ultimate. More is just a tool to show what it could have done if it would have connected, but it didn't. So not going to get any relics down. Just going to be, you know, wasting the cooldown for the moment. But hey, you got safety. And also, no one dies at the moment, so that's going to be a plus. Blink in from Elleon, also off the mark.
Well, does find the ultimate, but Final Judgment was thrown early by Joshy. So there's not a lot on landing, but Joshy still had the hieroglyphic shots after to take down Vyye. Second kill now for the mid laner. A little miscommunication there between the two on the Kaolin Wardens, but they still get the job done. And maybe a little bit more as Leon finds Valo in the jungle. Valo trying to fight back. It has a lot of damage to do so. But once that veil is opened up, that is a retreat from Elleon.
I would guess that Joshy predicted that Vye's beads were up because they were, and that Vyye was going to beads because he could, and sent the ult anyways to, you know, say, hey, you're not going to be able to take him up, but I'll hit the ult off it. And then Vyye said, joke's on you. I'm not going to beads, and I'm going to make you miss your ultimate. Still died, so great hieroglyphic assault there by Joshy, and at the very least, holds on to the beads for next time. But my heart grew two sizes as we get to see Vyye and Joshy both going into what you can assume is going to be an early stack tablet. Trying to get that extra damage online. I think both of these mages proc it extremely well. They've got so much range, and these tankier targets, you can see Slaaaash and MaIachi, really will be feeling it later on.
Tanky might be the right thing for Slaaaash to at least be called right now.
Well,
2 items into
later
the build. 2 levels up over MaIachi, so some of even just those base stats that come through, the base prots and the base HP, in favor of Slaaaash for now. But you are right, it is a slow start for MaIachi. I imagine will be quite a bit of defense built into the kit up against for him. But now it will the Xibalba Storm to do to somewhat answer back here, because Kaolin Wardens have been dictating the pace of this game so far. 3,000 gold lead up for them, just about, for the Chaos side team. And it feels like all this aggression has just been played around the mid and the right side of the map, where most of those leads have been occurred at least. Joshy up 2, Slaaaash up about a level and a half. A pick on Oceans would be great for the Xibalba Storm, but landfall not going to be thrown out by Dingo.
Yeah, the burp was channeled. Oceans knew he couldn't get knocked up as long as that was happening, and I think what really happened was once Vyye hit the full Primordial Onslaught and no damage occurred, they're like, okay, this is a dead kill. We're not going to be able to go in. Looks like a possible chill onto Dingo, and some good CC being popped. This could be a nice scrap, but where's the kill gonna fall?
Oh, but Valo went invisible to a few. He's able to squeak out. Dingo doesn't have that same luxury. He grabs one with the ultimate, but it's a killing spree for Joshy. Vyye on the run. Valo only escaping because of the stealth that connected to two different players. Joshy missing out on that route means that Vyye should get to live through. But unfortunate for Dingo, he is the one who pays the price.
Yeah, but beads down there for Valo. This Cliodhna could be under some fire if Elleon decides to use that ult offensively, but actually uses it defensively, ults out, and Vyye still goes down because this is a 4-0 Thoth. And yeah, Joshy's pumping out some serious numbers. You got to watch out for this damage. And this is what I was talking about. Last pick Thoth can be so deadly because you're not drafting for it. Thoth is a god that if left to free cast, will hard carry a game. If no one looks at this character, Joshy will just carry the game. And it doesn't seem like they have too much immediate dive until much later on once this Kaolin starts to rotate in. And the Kaolin Wardens are definitely benefiting from it.
The Kaolin Wardens to start out this hot in game number 1. At least going to put some question marks now for the Xibalba Storm as the rest of this game goes through. I mean, we're 11 minutes in. It's a 4,000 gold lead for the Wardens and still growing at the pace that they're making. I mean, look at what Elleon and Oceans are doing. They've forgone standing in a lane for farm. They are traversing the jungle to find any of these. Maybe the roaming harpies, a red buff, or even potentially just a fight. Flop on a Dingodile just to buy some space for Oceans and Elleon to get out. Both Veils at least used by Valo during that skirmish, but look at the health of the tier 1 tower. Vyye doesn't have much of a lifeline left in this T1.
Doesn't. I saw Slaaaash started to rotate over. Didn't decide to complete that rotation, just gonna go back for the wave, but I'm thinking it's about time we see a Gold Fury pull here. I mean, you have uncontested confirm with Supernova or Final Judgment, take your pick. The snipes from Mando could be troubling if you don't time it right, but again, you can time all of your DPS and just make sure to go for it. You got some time before you got to worry about Pyro, so I'm thinking that should be what's being had here, but maybe just wanting Slaaaash to get some magic defense online could be the call so far. Went for the breastplate of regrowth into the Glad Shield. Doesn't quite have that next item, the Oni Hunters or the Genjis, whichever one you really want on the Guan Yu. After that, maybe then you're feeling a little bit more confident about the rotation in from the Guan Yu over to objective and actually make the pull. But still, the Wardens have been pushing their lead so far at this point. The only thing left to do now is to actually make a pull on an objective.
An objective not to be had just yet. We will see a small skirmish, at least over by the shield buff. Joshy, level 14. Up until just now when Slaaaash procced over to the same level, Joshy was sitting top farm on the map, is back there with the confirmation of the camps to put him over to level 15 now on the Thoth. And at 4-0, Tablet started up. Only has what looks to be about 7 stacks on it for now. Hasn't really gotten too much extra poke with it just yet, but even still, the fact that he's 3 levels up and has felt like he's just gone unfazed the entirety of this game. Only one moment where he really took any serious damage in an early 2v2, but since then, it has been all Joshy all day.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes on the relics as Mando takes a ton of damage, and here comes that Naja. Both relics available. Mando plays it well. Dash actually doesn't even have to beads, but you're dropping down into a kill, surely.
Who's you going to give the kill to? It's going to be Elleon and Tubahh. They both won, and Elleon doesn't get the dash. The lifesteal is going through. Mando's stunned, and he lives through for a moment, but Oceans has come back through, needs to use the damage to take him down, and Valo not able to find the kill onto Tubahh or Elleon, so it's a double kill for Oceans. The support of the Kaolin Wardens gets to feast the benefits for what the rest of his team had started.
And now tier 1 tower in left is starting to be looked at. I am absolutely amazed that how long Mando actually lived there. Beautiful relic timing. Unfortunately for Elleon, a little bit too early there. And now tier 2 starting to be looked at. Where's the rest of the team? MaIachi pushing right. And it looks like Vyye will be able to grab the tier 1. It's going to be close. Another wave will come through. But finally, Gold Fury gets to be looked at as well. Trying to deal with some of that gold, but losing a tier 2 on top of a Fury. Unless, of course, yeah, no, there's no one that's getting here in time. Before 15 minutes, that's going to be some big spikes in your favor. Smart call here by the Storm, though. Grab the consolation prize, the Pyromancer, and that Runic Bomb could stop a bit of the aggression here from the Wardens if they look towards a Fire Giant.
Could also maybe assist if you want to go for a split push, that extra damage to the towers. Going to be very potent if you decide to make a play for that. But unfortunately for the Xibalba Storm. Not many towers they can really go for at the moment. They've lost both of theirs in the dual lane. They've lost their mid-tier one as well. I'm not sure you want to solo push up a mid-tier 2, even if you are MaIachi at this point on the Kaolin. In the right lane, might feel to be a little out of the question. So then, they pose the question for the Xibalba Storm, where do they make their stand, Joe? I mean, they lost the fight in left. Because of that, they lost the Gold Fury. They took a Pyromancer. Do you step up to the Fire Giant should the Kaolin Wardens try and make a pull towards it?
It's very early, so I would say the first one you definitely don't have to. With Blink, though, MaIachi could blink in, drop the bomb, ult, and try and run away. It's a possibility. Definitely getting chased down with the amount of CC that the Wardens have. And now Valo in some big trouble here. He's trying to use the Aegis. Goodbye. You are not using that Mystical Allure to get out. Unfortunate, but like I said, so much lockdown in CC. Take a look at Tubahh, not on the left side of the map, over on the right, trying to grab tower. The aggression will not cease.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 4-man collapse towards MaIachi, but MaIachi will be able to get himself out. Lose out on his tier 1 tower for even rotating towards that fight, because Tubahh decided not to be a part of the jungle. Instead, went for the tower himself, and will now group up. And man, with that glyph, so much extra damage to the tower. Ultimate from Dingo. Not going to pull Tubahh. It's a quick beads from the soul to get himself out of danger. But a 9-0 start for the Kaolin Wardens. A 7,500 gold lead so far, and maybe escalating even more so. Valo is in the wall, but surrounded on nearly all sides. Where is his escape path even at this point? I think it's, you just got to go away if you can. We'll drop 2 of the Veils, get some damage out, and we'll use 1 to dash away. But Slaaaash up on the horse will charge right in, finds the double stun, and gets the beads off the jungler.
Yeah, but the fight is still going on here underneath this tower. The Wardens want a little bit more. Beautiful double knockup, but not too much follow-up as the snipes rain true, but not doing enough damage as well. This tier 2 should fall down. And MaIachi transforms again. That's the second time this fight.
But he's going away as far as he can. Elleon takes him up into the sky, and on landing, this should be a dead Kaolin. The credit goes to Tubahh for the kill, but the setup by the rest of the team and Elleon to find the pick and make it 10-0 for the Kaolin Wardens. And what seems to be on their mind next, with mostly healthy HP bars, Fire Giant on the mind of the Wardens.
At some point, you gotta say, I think this one is looking rough, you know? And I think that fight may have been the actual stamp of maybe we can't do anything, because that was quite a long dance around a tier 2 tower, which, I mean, you get 2 Kaolin Rage transformations off from the Xibalba Storm. They just don't have enough damage to back up the CC here. Unfortunate, but now the Wardens are able to siege backwards, spend up some of that gold because that was a long fight, and then look to see what they want to do next. I mean, at this point, it's going to be Oni Fury spawning in here shortly, and they've got plenty of time to play this one slowly. The Thoth still doing plenty of damage. I think this Najah has been extremely impactful, part of all but 2 kills so far in this game, and Oceans has been part of all but 1. So looking like a very good game, just support style here for the Wardens, getting their carries ahead. It doesn't seem like, besides, I guess, Mando in this case, everyone else is looking at quite the deficit. Mando's only down 1 level, which could be worse.
Definitely could be worse. About a level and a half for Slaaaash over MaIachi, but reflecting the builds, the full item up for this Guan Yu. And for now, the Kaolin Wardens, with their Fire Giant, going to move over towards the Oni Fury. They'll still have the Fire Giant buff for about 3 minutes. How much more can they go with? Slaaaash is going to keep Dingo and Vi from just taking this Pyromancer, something where at least the Runic Bomb in the last team fight was used by MaIachi. Would have fooled me if it actually was, because it felt like it did absolutely nothing to the Kaolin Wardens, even in terms of potential disruption. So instead, Fury on the left side of the map for the Wardens, and they'll start marching up the left lane as well. It's Slaaaash and Elleon who have deviated away from their team, and instead will be the ones to take the Pyromancer, unless Valo decides to sneak up, but Valo immediately backs himself back towards the rest of the team.
It was the 2 sets ago where me and you were casting, and I brought up how fun Breastplate of Regrowth Bacchus is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad Oceans gets to have that fun.
He heard you saying, he goes, you know what, that does sound cool,
like,
Trelly.
That does sound pretty nifty. Maybe I can just slam second item Regrowth, just pop my chug and run around the map, CCing everyone. He did have the Horn Shard and the Cloak of the Ascetic as well, so had plenty of cooldown resets. Unfortunately, at level 12, you're supposed to sell it, and it was. It was picked up for the whole bracer, so plenty of support, plenty of damage, plenty of CC coming the way of this Bacchus. Keep your eyes on Oceans. Usually is a pretty solid engage, and of course Slaaaash is there just in case that poke starts to add up.
Elleon even going for defense second slot. A regrowth for him, a regrowth for Oceans, and one for Slaaaash as well. There's a lot in that team. Ultimate from Dingo pulls back Elleon, but that's probably exactly where Elleon wants to be. He's taken MaIachi to the sky, but there's not a lot of damage to the Naja just yet. Elleon still in the Phoenix will be dropped down as he stuck around for way too long under the turret. But it's just going to be too much damage from the Xibalba Storm. The Kaolin Wardens will have to back away after losing their first body.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they wanted to use too many ultimates there onto MaIachi, which makes sense. This Kaolin is getting much tankier as the game continues. So unfortunately, they will just have to back off after that one. But all towers on the map are gone there for the Wardens. They get the mid-Phoenix a little bit weak. I would say just fine for them. It still is very early on. We're only 20 minutes into the game, and they are about to get a second opportunity out of Fire Giant. So I would say if the first one doesn't net a Phoenix, you're not too upset about that. Giving the first death of the game away is a little unfortunate, but the good news is there was no kill streak on Elleon. He was 0-0.
He was all assists.
Yeah, he was all assists, so you're getting no shutdown gold in that regard. And just waiting for your teammate to spawn back in, and the Wardens can look once again towards that Fire Giant. What does the Xibalba Storm do in the meantime? MandoWarrior, prioritizing some farm on the left side of the map, is going to have to head over soon if he wants to defend. It looks like might just decide to farm. I mean, letting your Rama go and say, hey, you guys can go for the steal or not, it still is a 22-minute Fire Giant. We're not looking at EFG territory just yet.
Not quite. Be a little while, about 8 minutes before those are available. Well, now that Mano's got the crit, he can go ahead and take those Bastions. Clear up some additional gold for his team before working at the Tier 1 tower, but the Kaolin Warden's answer to that is send Elleon by himself to the right side Phoenix, while the rest of the Kaolin Wardens go ahead and take the Fire Giant for themselves. Elleon not needed there for the damage at the objective. Instead, it'll be the second fire of the game for the Kaolin Wardens, and they can start their push once more. Mid-Phoenix at half HP. The Kaolin Wardens spreading themselves out, and even a few of them going back to base. I assume to pick up a couple of big power spikes. Tubahh, in fact, has gone back. Polynomicon now online for the Soul.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about early on as well. When you have these magical ADCs and they're not Chronos, you usually want to get something like the Poly or incredible amounts of attack speed to make your sieges a bit easier. And in this case, I think Soul with Polynomicon and the Diamond Arrow is going to make these Phoenixes die much, much faster. You can't really count on these, you can't count on Elleon getting all the way towards the Phoenix for auto attack damage, and we know Joshy won't be doing too much unless he's got the glyph down to get those enhanced autos. And that's probably why the Xibalba Storm feel at least a little bit confident, because they know how the last siege went. Their Phoenix is already healing up, and they were never really under any fire for losing that bird. But now, one more attempt. The Wardens are going to push down left. I'm looking at relics. We're going to have Naja beads up at about 5. The only one they're missing on the side of the Storm is that blink initiation from the Kaolin, but MaIachi will do just fine. He's already got his rage stacked up. One ult should give him a transform.
You start to see some of these extra damage procs come through from the Kaolin Wardens mid. Dingo goes with the ult, but this time doesn't pull anybody back. Immunities across the board to keep themselves from being yanked back by the Maui. And he pushed still towards the left side. Without minions there, it's going to take the Kaolin Wardens a moment before they can push in. Elleon separating himself once more, 4 levels up over Valo. Going towards mid. Vyye will clear out one of those waves. MaIachi goes in. Ocean's being pulled back by Dingodile. A lot of damage on this Bacchus. And a call back in for Dingo, but stops his dash a little bit shy. And Joshy still full HP on this Thoth, undeterred, continues the poke.
Yeah, that Phoenix is getting real low, though. The Thoth does go through, but a beautiful knockup from MaIachi. Will they try to chase him out once again, taking up to the sky?
Elleon grabs him. MaIachi should be dead with only one more hit on landing. It's Tubahh to drop him down, and the left side bird to follow alongside it. Now with a weakened mid-Phoenix from their siege earlier on, the Kaolin Wardens can move over towards mid. Valo, with a quarter of his HP missing, not in any real position to go for a full defense yet.
Yeah, and it looks like spreading out. You know the cleanup beads are down, so Elleon's fine with trying to take that 1v1 as the 4v3 is happening in mid lane. Good crit as well, big damage, and it looks like the egg is going to have to be used.
But with no Aegis now, that is easy targets for Slaaaash. He will charge right in and take out the jungler. Dingo finds a stun only on Oceans. Mid-bird gone, much like the health bars of Dingo and Vyye, just not enough damage from the Supernova from Tubahh to take either of them out. It'll be a 3 Phoenix wipe, 2 down.
They're going in.
MaIachi back up in a second though. Health bar starting to get a little bit low. Oceans goes in but finds the kill on Vyye. Dingo barely swings out. Elleon wants that kill, finds a sass, takes him down, and MandoWarrior back into the fountain. And the Kaolin Wardens in just 25 minutes will walk up. They may get 1 extra kill just for the extra benefit, but they will take out the Titan for game number 1.
Clean play throughout. They had a very clear initiative. They knew, hey, we've got a ton of CC. Let's group up together in the jungle, build an early lead. Took a little bit longer than I would have liked to actually pull that Gold Fury, but confidence throughout, right? They're like, hey, we have Slaaaash. He can rotate through when we need him. He's already 2-0. We don't have to make any pulls that we don't necessarily need. And they just kept building that gold lead more and more. I would argue from like minute 4, it was very clear who had the reins in that game, and it didn't seem like the Storm were pulling back anytime soon.
I mean, you look out during the entire course of that early game from the Kaolin Wardens, by the time they got the first blood, that was in a 1,500 gold lead for the Kaolin Wardens. It wasn't like, okay, now we got first blood, now we can build our gold up. It was already starting to trend their way to kind of start this game out, and unfortunately for the Xibalba Storm, they weren't able to pump the brakes on the Kaolin Wardens even really one time this game, except for a single kill onto Elleon. We'll see if the Kaolin Wardens keep this momentum in game number 2 right after this break.
For the energy, I ain't worried, give a fuck about the enemy. Beat it, got them thinking it was 10 of me. That's why tonight I'm on the weed, not the Hennessy. Lying, but I tell you how it really be. Drop the game, I can sprinkle for infinity. I'm the player of the year if I do say, cause I treat a Saturday like a Tuesday. Came through with the sauce for the soul food. Eat good, smoke great, that's a whole move. Whole time, half time for the smoke break. In the mission, from the mission for the long cake. Laced up, rope chain, got my tongue tied. Top down, out, let them sun dry. I'm that and I said it before I had proof. Can't believe it till they see it, that's a sad truth. Hey, I be out of town all the time, out of blood rush. You be out of line, out of bounds, out of comeback. I be out of town all the time, what it does that. You be telling lies in your rhymes, where your funds at. Mailbox money in my real name. 30 years old and they still lame. Tryna kick it in the H like a field goal. Touchdown with finesse, that's a heel toe. Look, what you thought? Think better. Sundress, no drawers, got the seat wetter. Got my suede jumpsuit for the wind chill. Hot girl, but she blowing like a windmill. Truly, I ain't got a flex for the routine. Too clean with a plate full of poutine. Worrying about me can't help you. Way better when it's heard and it's felt too. Get my weed from the west, gold from the south. Show 'em how to make them triple O's from the couch. Counting on luck ain't a life plan. I'ma have the last laugh for a lifespan. Hey, I be out of town all the time, out of blood rush. You be out of line, out of bounds, out of comeback. I be out of town all the time, what it does that. You be telling lies in your rhymes, where your funds at.
Really been going back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Like the neighborhood warriors.
I don't miss, I don't play none, I don't diss, I don't say none. I go swish, that's an A1. I eat steak with no A1. Tell the chef, I said thanks, tell I'm in the bank. Tell my mom I'm living good, tell my kids don't stress a thing. I go back to back on the drops. drops, drop a lot, and she packed the bags. She shot till we drop. I just wake up, I don't say nothing. I'm on go, I don't stay long. I've been up now, that's a case one. I've been down too, like the day strong. I got summer toys for the summer boy. I keep drummer boys in the summer boy. I keep making noise, I've been paranoid. This is God body, you can never void. I don't miss, I don't play none. I don't diss, I don't say none. I go swish, that's an A1. I steak with no A1. Tell the chef, I said thanks. Tell I'm in the bank. Tell my mom I'm living good. Tell my kids don't stress a thing. I go back to back on the drops. Drop a lot and she packed the bags. She shot till we drop. These beats are up and beat 'em. These bags you can't believe 'em. I never saw the country but the money comes from Sweden. I meet 'em then I leave 'em. I wake up fight my demons. I never grew my circle. I can't trust you with my freedom. Give me locked down, keep you locked out. Only when it's here, you look pop now. I get drops now, on the top now. In the wintertime, still go top down. I get free. I don't go bust and I go plain Jane, watch me ski. Yeah, I see you now, I could tell you watching me. I go ghost, but tell me I'm more like his Lee. Rockstar, baby, turn pop star. I don't miss, I don't play none. I don't diss, I don't say none. I go swish, that's an A1. I steak with no A1. Tell the chef, I said thanks. Tell I'm in the bank. Tell my mom I'm living good. Tell my kids don't stress a thing. I go back to back on the drops. Drop a lot and she packed the bags. She shot till we drop.
Well, welcome back, Smite fans. The Wardens have a pretty clean run through game number 1. They look good doing it. Score, it's Miff back on the desk to break this one down. And Mifflin, this one, again, kind of feels like it comes out maybe a little more cut and dry as compared to some of the middle sets there. Very similar to actually one of the first games we saw today, where the Wardens just got off to a really good start, and that really good start rolled into a even better middle game, which rolled into an even greater late game for them. It feels like they just got everything under their feet that they needed to.
Yeah, I just think this one really comes down to jungle getting active a little bit earlier on one side. Elleon facilitating the entirety of the map, just plays through him, allows Joshy to essentially just be the, hey, I'll sit in the back and cast spells, and if they get close, I'll dash away a guy. He didn't really have to think about it, and often was actually dashing in, because the fights were going so one-sided. So in games like this where it's so hard to break down because it goes poorly so quickly, I think instead probably valuable to maybe address some of the issues that Storm should look to fix up. And I think that starts out around pressure. If you can't keep up with Elleon's jungle pathing, I think finding maybe a semi-global or global jungler could help you at least alleviate some pressure that way. Just be on the right side of the map and you can try and stop some of these ganks that did tend to go a bit long. So often the Kaolin Wardens were actually chasing these kills all the way to tower, or chasing it even into tower at times, and it just felt like it wasn't really answered by Valo properly. Otherwise, you could try and find hyper-aggression. That's the answer we had seen in the first set of the day, where they had lost essentially in the first 5 minutes. So in game 2, they say, okay, what do? Let's just draft pressure everywhere and try and make sure that we give ourselves a fighting chance as we start to approach that mid-game.
Yeah.
Generally, how you do that is you get some more warriors on your map, or maybe you go for a double assassin composition. The trade-off being that you're probably either going to lose a mage or you're going to lose a hunter in that situation, and then your siege becomes a bit worse. But if you think that's the only way you can stand up in the early game, I think that would be a viable option for the Storm going forward. The only thing I don't want to see is a repeat. You cannot allow the Kaolin Wardens to just have their own game, their own game plan, choose every single engagement, choose when the team fights happen and where they happen. Because if you allow them to make every decision, they're going to make the decisions that best suit them.
And as we saw, those decisions are aggression and winning. So it works out well for them. And you know, you got to talk about it because, you know, you had mentioned specifically matching like Leon's jungle pathing. And you've got a guy who's really vocal in-game. He's really vocal when you're chatting with him. He's also vocal online. And one thing he's been talking about is how much he has been loving Season 10 Year 10 specifically, I guess, for Smite Season 10, if he makes it into the SPL, I'm sure is going to be something he loves as well. But just playing throughout this year has been something he has been a huge fan of, a lot of the changes, things like that. And when you get that kind of renewed interest, especially for someone who's been playing as long as he has,
Decade.
suddenly you know the map like the back of your hand, you know where you want to be, you know your timers, like everything. And so suddenly you're in a conversation where you are just making plays because you're playing the game more because you love the game more, things like that. And so definitely something the Storm are going to have to try and balance out, match up, and figure out here. Storm start out picks and bans for game number 2. Their first pick one more time. And Mifflin, it's a Mercury Yamoja start for the Storm, which is very similar to last time around. Sobek, followed by Athena this time for the Wardens. I believe Vamana was high on this list as well. But so far they're ignoring some of those picks and just taking the support pool and dwindling it down.
Yeah, maybe you decide to either ban out the Maui or Storm so choose, could even take it in the first slot again, as it is unlikely that the Wardens will dedicate a ban in that direction. As of now, essentially just a run back of the previous match. I don't see anything that's going to really drastically change play on field from here. Maybe the Storm considering taking away that Naja, which was such an active facilitator for the Wardens in game 1, would make it a little bit more difficult to line up all those massive mage ultimates that the Wardens had. Soul and Thoth both just made it so easy for them to line up those ults. And when Elleon has a performance like he did, it generally just feels right as a momentum move to take away the hot hand. That said, Elleon has got a lot of picks that are very viable right now.
And 3 of the 4 you mentioned going into game 1 are still available.
Yeah.
The Naja wasn't on that list then.
Yeah, you still got the Thor, the Awilish, the Fenrir, all very, very powerful as of right now. Could be that he looks to go towards one of those, or could even flex his god pool a bit going forward. Storm, on the other hand, though, I think don't get swept up in the Warden's game plan and instead try and establish what it is that you want to play. That's what I'm looking at in this P's and V's. Do the Warden, or the Storm rather, have a composition that has an identity? Is it going to be a King Protection comp? Are you going for a sustained draft? Is it a late game composition? Are you trying to lean in towards the early? Is it a camp solo type thing? As of now, Thor plug and play, but a very aggressive jungle pick, and exactly what I had called for as an adaptation during the replay, something that can match up that jungle pace that we had seen from Elleon, something that can maneuver the map with some ease. And Anvil of Dawn really does simplify the jungle pathing. One of the things I always say as you start to get into competitives, to make it as easy as possible for yourself to be at the right place at the right time. Globals do exactly that.
Makes it very easy to have presence anywhere you need it. Plus, we've seen he does a lot of damage early,
so much.
He can really hard carry a game if you give him the opportunity. The Warden's going to have to answer back here. Earlier in some of these sets, we've seen high priority, not just supports, although support belongs up there. We've seen high priority in carries, occasional jungle picks up high. The Thoth was saved towards the end last time around. Wouldn't be surprised if they're going for something more eclectic in the mid lane as the Wardens did last time. They're going to wait for it. Instead, they're going to, let's call it, upgrade their support to the Maui and grab a soul alongside it. So while the Thor is a good start, feels like the Wardens answer back in a pretty convincing way, Mifflin.
Yeah, it's a scary duo lane for the Wardens locked in immediately. With a bit of flex potential, Soul could head over towards mid. If you so choose, I think likely will be the duo lane, though. On the other hand, the Storm, I think probably should at least try and grab themselves a Guardian here. It will be very telling what type of composition it will be if they do select a Guardian. If it's a Capri or something that hovers in the back line, a facilitator, you're thinking about a late game composition. If it's a hyper-aggressive, get in your face style pick, I think that will also speak volumes to what type of draft we're looking at. Instead, it's the Vamana and the Tiamat. Vamana and Thor, both picks that can create a lot of space, both picks that find their home in the enemy backline, so a dive composition already. Tiamat actually can join in that. I think what we had seen from Paul on Tiamat is one of my favorite ways to play that pick, which is, hey, I applied my damage from a range, I'm not going to sit back here and wait. Let me actually just jump in and become tanky and be with my front line and play that aggressive style. Because if you can't peel for yourself, and Tiamat at times can struggle peeling for herself, your allies can do it so long as you're nearby. And the only way to be near your allies for now, having seen the draft for the Storm, is to join them in that backline dive. Similarly, on the other hand, though, the Wardens, they've got non-committal initiation thanks to that Maui. Landfall, just one of the best ultimates in the game right now, with a multitude of CC behind it, and then the chase down potential of this Guan Yu. It's not the complete standard, just, hey, we're going to set it up with Windfire Wheels, but, I mean, pretty similar in execution. A pull into Soul's combo or a Guan Yu stun into Soul combo, both incredibly powerful. But we'll struggle a little bit more so against the 3 picks that the Storm have got already.
Well, they start to ban things out. As the second phase rolls through, Wardens take care of even more supports. 4 out of 5 of their bans are shots there. Sobek, Athena earlier, the Freya joining that as the 3. But then Ymir and Terra jumping in alongside those. Merlin and Yu Huang banned out here by the Storm, so trying to limit maybe a little more of what they have. I mean, expecting a physical, probably hyper carry, and now maybe towards the end of what the Wardens are going to be locking in, presumably for Leon. Scylla gets locked in, Mifflin, which admittedly, while I was talking about her ults with you earlier, I was not actually expecting to see.
I'm actually a massive Scylla fan right now.
Oh, yeah.
If you go down the Tablet of Destiny tree and just go like full burst Scylla, her damage output in the late game might just be bar none one of the best. Scylla's passives, giving her additional penetration power, all that really does add up as well. So I think she's in a very decent spot right now. With the mid lane being as small as it is, Scylla's Sentinel, that third ability, her dash, I think very strong. It is actually legitimately very difficult to gank a Scylla, and she is a late game time bomb. Has the setup that we had talked about previously for the Soul. Works for Scylla too. It's all CC regardless, so I'm a Monster has got some pretty decent targets here and pretty decent setup for her. But looking at the comp, I'm not certain where Leon would want to go out of the jungle. Maybe you want to lean down that facilitator tree, pick something that could be pretty high in the CC department, so you're burning beads for your Maui and your Guan Yu, or making use of the burnt beads. Batz has been one that has served him well, would synergize very well with this composition, and I think Batz also in a very good spot with some of the itemization change here in Season X. So we'll see. On the other hand, that's more dive. You've got ranged initiation now with the Dharmic Pillars, Loki with the Assassinate, great gap close, Thor, Vamana, they're already in that back line too. This is a comp from the Storm that is unorthodox when you look at it as a 5-piece, but each one of those individual picks, I think, align in their decision-making, which is get into the enemy backline.
Admittedly, last time around we were saying it was very standard, and it obviously didn't work, so I think unorthodox is maybe exactly where I like to see them go and try to shift things up. You called it, though. Batz locked in, and that's going to seal the deal for the Wardens as the top 5. Feels a little more. I don't even want to call it standard, but like you've got your mage, you've got a carry, you've got very very easy to see pieces. Do you think that changing from the Najah to the Hunbats, like, does it feel good here still? Does it lock in with the Scylla well? Does it match up? I mean, you had mentioned it as the setup that maybe could go with them, but does it lock in the way that you really want it to as a jungler?
Yeah, I think so. This is probably, if I'm in Leon's position, this is probably the pick that I would have gone towards, especially having seen this Loki now. Because Trelly brings up a really good point in the previous set, which is Loki is very good at bullying the enemy jungler.
Yeah.
But if you're initiating with Assassinate, well, you're not able to leap out of it, but you can just drop Fear No Evil on your feet, and you're either forcing an immediate beads, or you're peeling for yourself very well before that dot damage from Vanish applies, before you can channel that Flurry Strikes. You're making use of those burnt beads or burning beads like I had called for from the jungle as well. And this is a game now, looking at the composition from the Wardens, where Leon might not like it, but he doesn't need to be the hyper carry. You've got 2 picks that could do it all in the late game, Soul and Scylla. So have this Hunbots be just another piece of facilitation for this team, and I think the Wardens have put together a very strong composition.
And it's something that they're going to need if they want to continue on this route. Again, one of the teams that there was a lot of conversation around the Wardens as to whether or not are they a top 2 team, are they a team that's capable of making it into the SPL, are they just a team playing upset. I think a 2-0 start here, much like a lot of the compatriots that we've seen already do so, could be a very good stamp and step in the right direction. Whereas for the Storm, Mifflin, is this enough to change things up? I mean, you're looking at the Thor, you were talking about the Vamana, the Loki dive, ranged engage from the Ganesh. While it's unorthodox, is it the right kind of unorthodox, or is it just unorthodox?
My primary concern for the Storm is which one of these picks is going into the duo lane. Because it's got to be one of the weird ones, right?
Yeah, wait. Huh?
I would assume you're looking at Vamana
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I would assume we're looking at Vamana solo, flex potential between Thor and Vamana. could take Vamana in the jungle. Probably wouldn't want to see that, especially considering the build really does work well, stacking that physical defense much better in the soul lane. So I think we're probably looking at Thor jungle, Loki
like
ADC.
carry, yeah.
If that's the case, I'm not in love with it. You know, it's not great clear, but it's good chase down potential. If that is the case though, and you want him for his kill pressure in the long lane, why pair it with a Ganesh?
Yeah.
That's my only question mark.
Well, maybe we can find out some answers here as we jump into game number 2 between the Storm and the Wardens with J-Mac and Charlie.
Well, I sure hope that we can answer at least the question. It'll take us a moment once we jump into the game to figure out what is going to the duo. And it is going to be MandoWarrior on the Loki carry for the Xibalba Storm. Valo piloting the Thor, and then MaIachi on the Vamana solo, as predicted by Mifflin, at least in that regard. So I'm not super privy on the Loki carry very much. I know that we had one point in time a few years back where assassins were in the duo lane, but Loki was never really one that made his way over there, Charlie. How do you kind of give me your thoughts on this pick for the carry role?
You want me to say good things about it?
I said your thoughts. I didn't say your good thoughts or your bad thoughts. Just
I
give me
think it's
your
bad,
thoughts.
but like any one of these assassins, and don't get me wrong, there are some assassins that can be played in the duo lane. The issue with Loki is that he doesn't clear very quickly. He has to step up to actually, use that flurry in which Soul's going to be able to get some damage online. But with any one of these picks, getting off to a lead means that you're just going to be able to be a late-game assassin, right? That's the plan. That's why you pick gods like this. We've seen how strong these Bluestone assassins can be if they get to level 20 full build. So the plan now becomes, how much do we put to duo lane that doesn't bleed us dry elsewhere, that makes sure Mando can get online? And I would argue you don't want to give too much, because Dingo is going to need to help out elsewhere. So you're probably just leaving Mando on an island and hoping that he doesn't get starved like he did last game on Rama, right? It was just Tubahh stepping up saying, hey, I'm not going to clear. And look what's happening right now. They're not clearing. They are just standing there looking to poke as much as possible. I imagine that will continue unless Mando somehow gets a pick.
Yeah, it feels like it could be a while before Mando's able to maybe safely step up. Maybe once that level 5 hits, we can see some aggression between Dingodile and MandoWarrior over in this duo lane. But I think Mifflin kind of raised a good question of, if you're picking an assassin for kill pressure, I mean, why throw it with that Ganesh over in the lane? Feels like that's kind of opposite, where Ganesh wants to be there to peel for you, wants to be there to deter people from going in. Where it was a Loki, I'm thinking, I want to hit W key, I want to dive in, press that assassinate, go for the kill. But maybe Dingo here to prove me wrong as he goes in aggressive. Tubahh down to a quarter HP.
Yeah, man, pulls the beads. Not going to be too apparent early on, but if some rotations come through, some good damage onto Joshy as well. I was going to say from Valo. Could warrant a kill over because of Tubahh losing the beats early on, but just some scrapping here and through, trying to get some of that farm online. I tend to agree. I think that if you want to kill lane, Ganesh is not the call, but great initiation. You've got some good peel as well. That could be the only reason, as we do see a bit of a rotation here from Oceans. Is he going to look towards no one here, because they already used their escapes, trying to chase down Vyye? Looks like everyone's going over the wall.
Well, beads gone from the Tiamat. A little more damage is needed, but now it's Elleon with no mana and barely any HP. He doesn't have even enough to get over the wall. Instead, it's Valo to punch him down with the hammer, and first blood goes to the Xibalba Storm.
Yeah, that was a bit overzealous. I mean, everyone being able to go over the wall is great, but if one support comes over, you got to imagine the other one could have an opportunity too, and that's exactly what happens. So first blood going over towards the Thor, which is very deadly. I mean, this map is so impactful with Anvil of Dawn. If you can make your presence known and you look over and you see a soul that doesn't have beads for another 98 seconds, I'd be trying to hit level 5 as quickly as possible and maybe heading over towards Mando and saying, hey, let's get this Loki online.
No, it would be MandoWarrior to play the Loki like a solo laner, but over in the duo lane. I mean,
Yep.
if I think of Loki, anything outside the jungle, it's the solo Loki who's going to walk in the jungle. He'll run up, throw decoy, and he'll come back when that decoy's faded and it's back up online, throw it again, and it's basically like the non-committal, just like, I'm just there to clear the wave and that's it. Power farm my way to the late game. Maybe pokey if I get an opportunity to do so. So seeing MandoWarrior from his solo lane roots coming back over into the lane on this kind of pick. feels like it fits the bill for him.
Yep, but still not playing a warrior.
That still fits the bill for him, though. He doesn't play warrior.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like he'll go over to a new role, but he's still not going to play a warrior.
No.
He will never do that. Even if it makes much less sense. Still, if you're not going to pick a hunter or a magical ADC, I would have liked you to stay true to your namesake. But once again, keep my eye on Valo. He has that ultimate now. Takes over level 5. He's going to go for the ult here on a Tubahh. Mando is, but hasn't went back. Hasn't spent any gold, and Tubahh just uses the supernova, uses that CC immunity to get out of the stun. Going to be just fine. But here comes a rotation. Elleon does have the ultimate as well. Got his pick of the litter if he wants to go for a kill, but actually just cares about the shield buff. And here comes the ult from Valo.
Ducks down in, silence. We'll keep Elleon from dropping his own ult in response. That might be the only reason that Dingodile goes for the silence there instead of a further play, but also low on mana for both him and Mando. And so, a little skirmish over the left side of the map. No blood spilled because of it, but still a couple ultimates thrown out during such.
I'm curious to see if there are any ganks come to solo lane, because
There's chillin', bro.
we all got to watch what Ducky was able to do with this exact build. Are we going to let MaIachi get it online, or is there going to be some pressure over towards solo lane? Again, it's a little bit differently if your carries can actually blow up a Vamana. That's kind of the issue, though, is if you let this sigil get upgraded, you let level 20 come through, it becomes much harder to actually do damage towards that Vamana. I'm curious to see how the Wardens decide to handle it. So far, it has been not much aggression really in any of these lanes. That was just a shield buff attempt that turned into a bit of a scrap. We saw one chase over a green buff, but besides that, just farming. Xibalba Storm ahead, about 200 gold. That's all they got.
Oceans will walk up towards Vyye, just swinging the hook. Not going to actually throw it out just yet, but it's that intimidation. It's like sonic booms in Mercury. You just got to charge it up, just see the responses. So far, response is to get a landfall towards 3, only pulls 1 back in, but that is just enough to at least force the hand, or I should say at least the beads from Vyye. Those were expended, so he wasn't the one yanked back.
Yep, good engage. Once again, you want to keep your eye on those beats timers, especially when there's a Hun Batz on map. Valo does have the ultimate to try and re-engage if possible, but you know, this Tiamat has been playing so passively. Not even just this game, just all games really. I mean, this is from earlier on. You just want to sit back and farm up. It's just the mid-lane play style now is to play, you know, stacking, whichever item that may be in this case. You want to try and stack it up as quickly as possible and stay away from aggression whenever that can be. MaIachi, though, out of the solo lane, stepping up here trying to follow Slaaaash, and here's the ultimate.
Dingodile, the one hit by the Fear No Evil. Dingodile low, drops his own ult and has some backup from MaIachi, but it's first blood of the fight. Going over to the Wardens, an immediate 1-for-1 trade, but MaIachi is unfazed during this. He is just running through 3 players, and not a single bit of damage thrown back his way. And at the end of the day, it's 1-for-1, but Valo wants a little bit more. Elleon doesn't realize he's being chased out. A spin is good by Valo. Hammer is good enough as well. The double tap connects, and it's a killing spree for the jungler.
Did he really not see? I thought he saw and was just stepped up to the buff confidently, but I guess he turned around and was either didn't know or just thought he could live that. But now 3-0 on the Thor and 2 levels ahead. Valo having a heck of a start here to game number 2. I mean, this Thor was the pick that I thought could be pivotal here for the Xibalba Storm, but getting off to this good of a start with very little ultimates, by the way. I mean, these have just been 2 kills of just 1 overstaying, and in this case, 1 chasing down. So good way out. I'm curious where that aggression tends to be now, because you can't really look towards this soul unless you're waiting for Mando to go in. Mando finally goes back, was sitting on that full transcendence for quite some time. And now that you have that item, maybe you're able to poke out Tubahh. Maybe you're able to put some pressure onto this soul so that Valo can come over here and use that Anvil of Dawn.
Dingodile using his on the last fight. Oceans didn't have his from the previous skirmish that happened over on the left side mid-camp, so maybe that could have been something that could have changed the tides of that fight for the Kaolin Wardens. We'll have to see maybe on the next fight, though. It's a 4-man grouping for the Storm to just confirm themselves a shield buff. Give that one over to Valo, and he can make his rotations across the map. Only 3 grouped up from the Kaolin Wardens. Joshy a little late to try and go over towards that side. But I kind of want to go back to maybe a discussion of MaIachi, at least in that last team fight. I mean, that wasn't even a tanky Vamana yet. That wasn't, I've got a defense and a half item for a Vamana. That was a tier 1 sigil and golden blade Vamana that nobody even looked at and nobody did any damage to in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, early Vamana ults you usually ignore, right? Like if you see a Vamana make an early rotation, you say, okay, that guy's scary. That's usually the call here. Slaaaash is going to use that ultimate aggressively, not pull any relics. And it doesn't seem like the Hunbats is going to be able to find anything off that, so a little bit of a wasted opportunity. As an ult in this time around, actually onto Tubahh. And here comes Oceans, and they've got a Loki they want to kill.
Tubahh held on to the bees the entire way through. The hook connects, and Tubahh, with the help of Oceans, will take down MandoWarrior. Put a second kill up now for the Kaolin Wardens, and nearly evens out the gold as well. Only about 100 up for the Xibalba Storm at this point in time. Same with XP, just bouncing around that 300 mark. The Kaolin Wardens have fought their way back in, and what was a slight time to gold could go the other way. Tubahh doing some damage, but a couple of steps in between for Dingodile means the tier 1 tower does get to hold out for a little while longer.
Yep, and that's going to help out because Mando not being able to step up past the tier 2 tower, that's dangerous. You want to be able to have that bastion of safety, and that is what has been kept alive there by the rotation from Dingo. At least no beads down from the Loki, just using the ultimate to try and force something out of Tubahh. Unfortunately, didn't know that there was a Maui sitting right around the corner. And gets a bit baited in that regard, but still trying to get online, trying to force out something onto Soul is the name of the game, apparently here for the Xibalba Storm. But still a quiet one. I mean, it seemed to me like Mando just forgot he was playing Loki or thought he was much safer. Valo wasn't around, this Thor was not here, so probably going to sit even further back in lane now that that mistake has come through.
With Vyye going back, he's in a couple of lizards, at least down the lane. Rotates over to split the Harpies with Elleon. Now we'll be having a Pyromancer to spawn in that pit in its place. The Kaolin Wardens have been able to fight back, but the fact that Mando even held on to his beads during that fight, as soon as that stun hit him in lane, thought that would have been a call for this Loki to pop his beads, maybe go for a retreat, but MandoWarrior stuck it out. We'll hold on to him for the next team fight. Joshy's been the one under a lot of pressure, more than anything, from the Xibalba Storm. It has been constant eyeing from Vyye on the Tiamat to keep Joshy at bay under this tower.
Yeah, this mid lane is where the groupings have been. Can I just say, it'll never look right to me that a magical ADC can build Berserker Shield. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't look
That
right.
still doesn't compute with me.
Yeah, like I understand it and I've built it myself at times, but it still doesn't make sense in my brain. As we do see an ult, double ult this time around, getting the beats from Elleon. Where's that Thor not gonna come through though?
Right into the back line, Elleon low. One more hit from Valo does it. The Fury getting active in the fight as well. Valo is low, and I'm a monster from Joshy, but Vyye and Mando have collapsed on the mid laner. It's a 2 for 1, as Valo's the only one of his team who has gone down so far. But Tubahh, full HP, throws out the damage, but it only hits Dingodile, who's using the Fury to his advantage to kite Oceans and Tubahh around to make it only with Valo going down.
That was a sick hook there by Oceans to make sure Valo couldn't hammer out. By all means, that should have been a clean in and out from the Xibalba Storm, but a little bit of a trade there. And this time you lose your beads in the process. So that might open up some doors here for Elleon, unfortunately for him as well. Beads down for about a minute 20. Or should I say 2 minutes at this point, 120 seconds. And Valo a little bit more with the beats down. So both junglers have been taking some very aggressive turns when they need to help out their squad, but also losing relics in the process. Makes the team fight around objectives a little bit more difficult. Gold Fury is still available, of course. That's where that fight took place, not really what it was over. So I'm curious to see if there is a bit of a grouping on the left side of the map once these solo laners come out. But Soul is going right, and Slaaaash is going left.
Look, Tubah's the one with the Berserkers. He's got the defense
That's true.
to
That's
go
the
over that
thing.
way now. He can be the one. You know what also doesn't look right? On the same vein of magical ADCs or just magical gods in general building that, I got ran up by a Glad Shield Ardio the other day, and I felt like something was just illegal with that.
And it should be, but
And
it's
it hurt.
not.
And it hurt.
It does.
It was not fun, let me tell you.
It isn't fun. And they're going to stick with this. Actually, Valo going to the sky to look for, if he can find the Hunbats with no beads, maybe, but no one's stepping up close enough. It looks like they're going to stick with this role swap, and you want to know why? Because Maokai has 0 magical defense, and in this case, Tubahh has physical defense, so pretty good idea. There's no tower to be grabbed either. Use this soul pressure where you can. It's one of the rare opportunities for a role swap to make complete sense, because what's a Guan you going to do to a Loki? Just bully him as much as you can. Use that movement speed, try and chase him down. You're completely safe. You're not putting yourself out of position to step up where there is no tower.
Oh, you know what else it really was? Bastions. Tubahh said, man, there's no more bastions for me to farm. I need my
I
free
need my
gold,
heat,
man.
man.
So he kicked Slaaaash out of lane so he could go get an extra 150 gold off of MaIachi's bastions. That's probably what it really was. But that roll swap could cost Tubahh something, or maybe even Valo instead. No chance to get to the sky. Hook, line, and sinker as the Kaolin Wardens take down the Thor. And maybe a little bit more. MaIachi could be in danger. Stun no good. MaIachi getting a little bit of shielding, but it's not quite enough just yet. Tubahh doesn't have the damage to take him out. Instead, it'll be Elleon and Oceans forcing the Vamana away as far as he can go.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to chase this one down, you need Tubahh to connect with that magical damage. Too much Fizz Prod, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the call. Tier 1 tower and right will drop. And the worst part is, the Xibalba Storm don't even have an avenue to go for Gold Fury because they don't have an ADC. They have a Loki who is looking at a Guan Yu with plenty of defense to be looked at. So that was a great call. Use 3 members of your team to run down the right lane. You know you don't have to worry about anything happening on the left side. And
that was...
Wait, the Storm got the Pyro.
Oh, what damage?
Vyye got pulled.
What damage even took? What did Vyye steal it while he was mid-air or something? Valo turns the fight around. Joshy's dead. Oceans is dead. It's a double for Thor. A Pyro for the Xibalba Storm. Maybe off a minor misplay from Oceans by pulling him towards the objective. I don't know what stole it there, but props to him for taking it and finding the double. Plus now a Gold Fury, likely uncontested at all, as Xibalba Storm have turned a bad situation into an amazing one.
Yeah, as I said, it's a terrible call to put 3 over on right because you're gonna think you've got more secure than you do. You're gonna go for Pyromancer, and then the Storm are just gonna come up in a big way. In this case, huge ult from Valo, and Vyye getting pulled in ends up being a net positive there for the squad.
Man, I gotta see what this was. Luckily for us, we do have a replay of that Pyromancer. So Vyye goes
Tornado?
in.
Oh,
he threw the 2. The second hit of the 2 is what steals it away. I cannot believe it. And immediately after, Vyye and Valo just completely run over the Kaolin Wardens there. What a great play for the Tiamat. Slightly too late from Oceans to stop the damage that steals that one out. But good on Vyye to turn that situation to a great one for his team. Pyromancer, 2 kills, and a Fury for the Storm, bringing it to about a 1,500 gold lead.
I mean, they just had so much confirm as well. Crush was sitting there.
I'm a monster?
I'm a monster was channeled. There's so much burst damage. Just being able to weasel their way in. Elleon thinks he's the one going for a gank, but behind you is a Thor. Only going to get half health. Not going to go too far on the commit, but MandoWarrior also is here. Looks like a chase down coming from the Storm. They want to fight.
Oceans over the wall. Supernova to zone out inside the jungle. Slaaaash is rotated back to join the rest of the team. Where will Tubahh and Slaaaash go now? Do they keep their roll swap up, or do they just stay grouped up here towards mid? Landfall splits the uprights between Dingodile and Vyye, so no pull there from Oceans. Instead, it will now be a push in,
Valo.
but up in the sky is Valo. Where will he land? Is right on top of Joshy. Aegis is not even able to go off for the mid laner. He is gone, but Slaaaash goes back in, teams up with Elleon and Tubahh to make it a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, Slaaaash still's got some legs in this fight. Does have the regen as well. MaIachi has no mana. There's no way that he can stick around. Can't even go into the Colossal Fury. Does have just enough mana to get out in this case. And the Hunbat's is split pushing over on left, trying to get as much farm as possible. I like this play here, trying to stop backs if you can. And now you've got a Soul with full heat looking at tier 2 tower.
Elleon blinks away from Mando. Still a slight push from the Wardens, but with Vyye back and healthy, that should be the end of the fight for the Kaolin Wardens. A tier 1 tower and a 1-for-1 trade there. Joshy didn't even get the opportunity to Aegis his beads. I believe we're still down as that fight had kicked off. So no chance for him to fight back, but still, Kaolin Wardens fighting back through.
Yeah, it's one of the most tilting combos to get landed on. You don't have your beads, and you're immediately silenced by a Ganesha as well. You just know there's nothing. You don't get to play the game for the rest of the fight. Would have had to have been a pre-ult there from Joshy, but no one had any idea Valo was going up. That was a full-on retreat call from the Kaolin Wardens. Ends up working out a little bit by able to push that tower down. So now all tier 1s are gone for the Kaolin Wardens, thanks to some good rotations from Tubahh, the 2-0 Soul. And now you got to imagine Pyromancer or the Oni Fury are on the minds of both of these teams. Both going to be spawning in here shortly. grouping up towards the mid lane. I'm keeping my eye on the relics, though, as you said. I mean, Valo's got none for another 70 seconds or so, and Mando sitting about the same. I'm thinking Xibalba Storm want to sit back and stall this for as long as possible. If they cannot fight, they will, but in this case, Vyye cannot refuse. He has to jump away, get away from the landfall ultimate.
Feels like it's the ultimate battle of mind games between Oceans and Vyye there. Oceans, I think, predicting that Vyye was going to jump over the wall before and landfalled where he thought it would be. Instead, comes up empty-handed, and Vyye is able to jump out. Still both relics available to the mid laner, the Xibalba Storm. But Tubahh will go back to his respective lane, start getting a little bit of pressure there. Vyye will spot him out and will stop the back with the bull. The Kaolin Wardens will grab the Pyromancer while all the distraction had been taking place over on the left side of the map. The Kaolin Wardens continue to fight back and try and reclaim their lead.
Yep, and now you see the Vyye is one left and MandoWarrior is in mid. I cannot stress. I had this blow up a bit ago about the Morgan ADC. I can't stand it either. The only buff currently in the game with an aura effect is on the Invis character. I mean, now Mando's got a purple buff. Anytime he goes Invis, everyone's gonna know exactly where he is. I know that it's just I'm just yelling into the nothingness, but luckily the purple buff wore off, and now Vyye could be in some trouble, forced into the dash early on, and here comes the cavalry charge.
Slash will go in immediately. Vyye does not have ultimate until now, just uses it, but Joshy dunked on again, barely. Will the Scylla make it out? And they've used all their commitment to dive onto Joshy, but now do they have the div to get out? Elleon drops the Fear No Evil, jumps over the wall. Health bar is very nice on the side of Xibalba Storm, not so much for the Kaolin Wardens as beads have been expended, and look at the relic graveyard for the Kaolin Wardens.
And they've got pretty much nothing less except for Tubahh. This soul is the only opportunity they have if they want to stay in this fight, but Tubahh has no mana. Now the Fury should be starting to get looked at here. Here comes a full health Joshy, but will he get here in time? Good stall by the tanks of the Wardens, and they're looking to scrap a bit.
Oceans has ult, just came back up. Slash has regained his. This could be a reinitiation for the Wardens. Slash goes back in, but it's a back out again. The bracer dropped down by Dingodile in the back line. Gives some assistance to the Xibalba Storm. The Wardens are sticking around for a while, but this is a lot of free poke that Mando can throw against the opposition. Landfall will grab Valo, but Valo's got the beads and the hammer to get out, and the Landfall is blocking. Slash is packed out, but he finds MandoWarrior all by himself. The double Sikkim Crush combo nearly kills Vyye, but it's just not quite enough damage.
Yeah, but now MaIachi's back with full HP. Colossal Fury not quite up, and now the Kaolin Wardens are going to have to full-on retreat here. It looks like just no health bars, no mana, and neither team wants to leave this Fury unchecked. But it looks like both teams will agree. All right, we're going to go back. We're going to meet back up here in about 30, 45 seconds or so.
Do it all over.
And we're going to do this again. But take a look at the relics. No one is going to have anything except for Tubahh. This soul is the only one who feels confident standing anywhere near the opposition.
Yeah, MaIachi's got Thorns actually picked up for his second relic, trying to immune some of that
He
damage
wants to be
through.
Ducky so bad.
Picks the Vamana, goes the Thorns, goes the same build path and everything. I don't know, Charlie.
You know what?
Maybe he's a big Ducky fan.
I'm gonna give MaIachi the benefit of the doubt. I haven't seen Vamana in my ranked games, but you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to put all the mitigations items together and play Vamana. So I'm not gonna say that Ducky's the first one to do it, but it is the same build. So we know what it's gonna look like late game. You're popping Thorns, you're running down these carries. So far has not died, sitting 0-0-2, and wants to just stand at the forefront of this fight and collect prophetic cloak stacks. That's what I'd be doing. And so far, only has 9, but he's got plenty of time when this Fury gets pulled.
We'll see what Leon does in this fight, but it's a double stun by the mid laner onto Oceans and Slash. Leon's got Fear No Evil and has the Runic Bomb. That's a lot of extra CC that Elleon could provide towards this team fight, but not able to find a path in. So it's spotted out by Vyye and Valo, rotating back towards mid. And the Kaolin Wardens are slow playing this Oni Fury. The damage from Vyye is starting to stack up, but the sustain from Slash seems to be countering out a lot of that damage thrown their way.
Yeah, I was wondering, you could tell Elleon was looking to see if there would be a hammer throw in mid, because remember, Valo's relics are down for 45 seconds. The 1v1 from junglers could be the call, but it looks like Vyye actually gets aggressed on by Slash, forcing out Valo back to base as well. But no one's went for the pull yet. We were joking about doing the same thing, but they really are doing the same thing once again, just 2-3 minutes later.
We're on a record, Trellian. The record always spins in one direction. Unfortunately, this is a broken record at the moment. The Oni Fury pulled by the Wardens. In goes MaIachi to the ultimate. Fear no evil is there. The Oni Fury will go to the Kaolin Wardens. MaIachi is undeterred in the backline. He is just walking at Tubahh and Elleon. But that's all that he's able to do is just walk at them, not deal any damage back, and not have any returned his way. The Kaolin Wardens, they will grab the objective. How will the Storm respond to group up in mid so far?
Yeah, tier 1 tower, Pyromancer, both could be options here. Without a traditional ADC to actually break down the tower, MandoWarrior is not getting all the way towards tier 1. Is going to start damaging the Pyromancer. It's going down quick. Here comes Slaaaash, but it will go the way of the Storm, and Dingo is able to pick up that bomb. Maybe some body blocks in the meantime as Vyye was able to juke out or just immune that pull back in from Oceans. That landfall gets no value, and Slaaaash is just here in no man's land for fun.
This is not to be rude to Oceans, but I think I've only seen him maybe hit 2 landfalls so far this game that have actually pulled somebody back.
You are just analyzing what has happened. That is not you are not being rude. That
Here's
is
the thing,
true.
When we look back to when Maui came to competitive, Oceans was one of the first ones of the SCC, bring him in during the World Championship run, you know, the play-ins towards Worlds. And it wasn't looking so hot the first few games that he played him.
Right.
It feels like I'm kind of seeing that same Maui, but at the same time, Oceans has been trying to get set for the team. His hooks have been on point so far.
The hooks have been
hooks
clean.
have been good. The solar swings have been good. Just got to see those landfalls connect these next couple.
And you know what? Just to balance it out, Valo has to use the beads there. 1v1 with Elleon. It's going to be a possible chase down, but here comes in MaIachi to make sure that Hunbats can't chase on. That's all the call, though. You can tell. Just watch the positioning here. Elleon has just been hiding in the jungle, waiting for Valo. He's saying, hey, I'm not letting this Thor go up unchecked. I'm going to make sure either A, I'm pulling a relic, or B, you guys know exactly where this Thor is if he does go online. He's been trying to find Valo pretty much all game. MandoWarrior finally does show himself over on left, but the Kaolin Wardens show no promise in just immediately burning down an objective. They're just going to keep on clearing waves. Even though they're up 4v5, they don't seem to immediately care, probably because they want to look for Valo in a couple 30 seconds or so once that Fear No Evil gets back online.
Okay, so I know that 2 of the fights that Joshy has been a part of in this game have been him being dunked on by a Thor and I gotta run out. But he has not been putting up the damage numbers you would expect for a Scylla. The ults have been for objectives that one was stolen away by Tiamat 2, and the other one was over on the Fury in that last team fight. We have not really seen much at all from Joshy so far on this Scylla. And as this game goes, I mean, this is a god who, throughout the course of her history, we talk about Scylla being the one god besides maybe Kali that one ult can single-handedly turn an entire team fight around. We just haven't seen it so far from Joshy.
Well, that's the good news then. You just got to hit one. I mean, you got all the time in the world to find that one, Joshy, because it doesn't seem like either
one
team
is going to double his damage that he's at now. He's only at like 5K.
Yeah, and that's fine.
26 minutes.
Once he finds it, just absolutely deletes someone off the map, the Kaolin Wardens will be happy. Or Xibalba Storm are going to keep saying, hey, Joshy, you keep using those ults defensively, and we're going to keep, enjoying that. Gold lead is slightly in the Storm's favor, but positioning-wise, the Wardens have plenty of vision deep in the jungle and are grouped. It does not seem like Valo has been stepping up too much. Currently in base, but has been very weary of wherever this Hunbats is hiding. Does not want to get a blink ult anytime soon. And actually stepping up is the Wardens towards a tier 2 tower. Primal Fury might be pulled here before Fire Giant is even looked at.
27 minutes in.
I mean, because the Storm can't pull it. Like, you're going to have Mando DPS it? It's going to take half an hour. So they're just looking to fight. Yeah, the bomb for the confirm, not to actually do it.
Fair. Xibalba Storm, though, pushing up against the Wardens. Elleon and Oceans both being poked out by Vyye. And MaIachi as well stepping up. Another 10-man grouping around the Fury once more. We saw this earlier 10 minutes ago. We saw it earlier 5 minutes ago. And we'll see it once more here. But now the Kaolin Wardens collapsing, and Oceans pulls one with landfall. It's only Vyye. But in the sky and on the ground is Valo. Tubahh has taken out one during all of it. Joshy finds the ultimate, just not enough damage. Fear no evil from Elleon. Breaks some time, but Joshy able to get one through there. It is a 2-for-2 trade.
Whoa.
But the health bars are awful on the side of the Kaolin Wardens. Valo is able to make it back. and the Xibalba Storm can weather through.
I was wondering if Joshy and Valo both knew where each other were. Like, they both had one-shot potential there, but in this case, Valo definitely smart to just channel that back fully. Joshy maybe figured it out, or was just spamming, waiting for Crush to come up and never got it. But Primal Fury will finally go down. And this certainly helps out the Storm, right? I already said, they don't have that DPS to actually be able to tank up Fire Giant and just do it in a 5v5. But if they keep taking these fights in the jungle and winning, eventually the Wardens are going to be so fearful of even walking into the jungle that they can actually just go for the Fire Giant. So that seems to be the call here. Primal Fury does go down, and the gold continues to climb there for the Storm, but not so overwhelming that we're going to see an immediate rotation over the right side of the map where Fire Giant or Pyromancer gets picked on. Doesn't seem to be the immediate call. And still a Runic Bomb in favor of Elleon. The other one was used at Primal just for some extra DPS, so you got to watch out for that burst. All of it in the world on the side of Joshy, Tubahh, and in this case, a Hunbats.
This is the closest game we've had at this stage of the game, at the very least. 29 minutes in. The Kaolin Wardens start at the Pyromancer trying to grab a second Runic Bomb for themselves. But it's stopped by the Storm. Sick him off the mark by Joshy. Keep your eyes on Mando and Valo during these fights, because Elleon uses the Fear No Evil, thinking there might be a chase, and Valo goes right into the backline. Tubahh's ult stops MaIachi from dashing in, but the two assassins of the Xibalba Storm are putting in the work.
Yep, this is why you pick that Loki ADC. You're going to be able to find that 100-0 if the beads are down, and in this case they were. Now the very slow Fire Giant pull will begin. Keep your eyes on Joshy. Ultimate's available. MaIachi actually forced in immediately, and now the rest of the team's got to run.
MaIachi is chasing down Tubahh, and Slaaaash is low. Finds the stun on one. Dashes out instantly. But MaIachi will chase him out. Slaaaash should go down, but gets just enough sustained back to live through the fight. The Fire Giant leashed by the Xibalba Storm, and will now go right back to MaIachi. Can rejoin the fight with his teleport.
Leon's back in 10. The teleport comes through, and here comes the rest of the Wardens. They know this is going down slow. They know they can take their time if they do want to try to go for a steal. And Joshy still has that I'm a monster. So Xibalba Storm are going to have to call this one off. Their strength lies in these jungle fights. The ability to just 100-0 someone off the back of Mando or Valo. But now Elleon's beads are back up, so you're going to be able to do that again. If you catch him in the jungle with your invis and immediately chase down after the jump, it's possible. But the Xibalba Storm have a plan, a playbook in this case, and they're going to stick to it. They're going to wait until someone gets poked out, or they can 100-0 someone before they go for a pull. That means the Wardens have their opportunity to get aggressive now.
But who does Oceans find the pull on to try and pull them out of position and maybe start with an advantage for the Kaolin Wardens? Because, I mean, Dingodile, he can pop that channel just like that with the Ohm. He'll immune the pull. MaIachi, if he's quick on the reaction, can ult to get out of there. Same with Valo and MandoWarrior, able to immune a lot of what he can do. Just feels like Oceans doesn't have a great target for these landfalls during these fights.
Yeah, it's not easy to be the sole initiator in this case. Slaaaash has been able to find some impactful horses. Cavalry charge can set up a lot if used effectively. Now we're seeing the once again, obviously fake bait of the Storm pretending like they can do Fire Giant. And again, they can. If left alone, yeah, they can kill it, but it just takes them so long that the Wardens know they don't have to immediately rush in once it starts to get DPS and it's been pulled again. I'm keeping my eyes on the junglers. It looks like Valo's stepping up pretty high, and the match ice goes down. There's the ult, and it beads immediately.
Not going to be able to get the Fear No Evil's value there. MaIachi batting away in the backline, though, has that Thorns popped, gets the extra shield to himself. Ocean's out, and it's not even going to be able to get up to the landfall. Mando and Valo dive to the backline. 2 down, make it 3 with Tubahh gone. Slaaaash and Elleon, the last one's alive, but Elleon does not have an ult. Slaaaash doesn't have anything either. Will be chased down to the speed buff. And a slow from MaIachi and the damage from Valo. It is a double for the Thor, a near wipe for the Xibalba Storm. And who needs the fire? It's just Elleon left up to defend.
Yeah, he already cleared the wave, though, so this is going to take a while to go through. They have plenty of damage, and no teammates are coming for 18 seconds. Elleon has a simple goal, try and poke them out, and I think that's enough to make sure the end is going to be sketchy. MaIachi's not even going to go for the teleport. He's going to stay here. The ultimate's not going to be up for a bit.
10 seconds for Elleon to buy for Ocean
And a
to get
bomb.
back, but there's nothing there for Oceans, no ultimate available. Elleon has the Fear No Weevil, that hits Mando out. Oceans is back, there's no minions, it's a triple stun in. Elleon with a big damage, but that Ganesha is doing a lot. Valo shuts down Elleon, and the Xibalba Storm surely take us to our first Game 3 of the day.
I mean, that's the perfect fight that you could ask for, right? You know Fire Giant is going to be difficult without a traditional hunter to tank it up. And they say, hey, we're going to keep finding picks until we have an overwhelming advantage. We're going to win fights off the back of one-shots from Assassinate. And, of course, Valo with the Anvil of Dawn just absolutely deleting these backliners. And, unfortunately, not enough damage to keep that Titan alive. Elleon went big there, and Oceans hit some big stuns. But 5v2 on the Titan, it's hard to keep that one alive.
So 2 sets ago, Charlie, we mentioned, don't let Sarpei have Thor.
Yes.
I think just the reoccurring thing is don't let any of these players have Thor, because the level of play that we have seen from this one pick in particular over the course of now 3 games has just felt like nobody's been able to find an answer for it yet.
Yeah, and we saw, Oceans did everything he could to get the Magi's down. Elleon then uses the ult to get the beads down. And then Valo still makes a game-winning ultimate. If you're putting all of that to put the Thor down, you can just click a button and no one can play it.
Yeah, I think maybe a good call as we move into game number 3 that you possibly take this Thor away from whoever it may be, whether that be from Valo or whether that be Elleon. Don't want to see it any longer. I mean, I like seeing the hype plays that the Thor brings out. It's cool to watch. But if you're going against it, might be a good idea to ban it. We'll see who can come out on top for game number 3. That's coming up right after this break.
You my twin flame, and no doubt about it, we be torn love. From me your club, I ain't pulling out, I'ma shoot it out. Cause you the one, shawty, you the one. Yeah, you the one that's working for it. You the one that curved them for me. You the one that's searching for me. You the one that's hurting for me. You the one that deserve it from me. You the one that's perfect for me. Yeah, she a little freak. Yeah, she only do it for me. Yeah, yeah. What you don't know, girl, you know that I'm willing to teach. Yeah, yeah. Reaching your peak. Yeah, you know I'm the one with that reach. You know that. Yeah, loving your body. Yeah, loving your body.
Baby,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
get suited up. Got you some money, got you marine. She giving me streams, I dive in the stream. With a king, then you riding with me. 2-door coupe, red guts for the seats. Move like a sleaze man, racking up peas. She on a wine and dine and ting. She on a pristine jewel diamond ring. I'm on a big man flex, no arm out. Hermes bracelet, bringing the charms out. She got a fresh blowout with the part out. This type shit make you eat your heart out. So eat it up. After this bill, I'ma beat it up. You was suited up, now you suited down. When that ass move around, yeah, it's heating up. My twin flame. I can't picture you with nobody else, that slim frame. Girl, you my Savannah, yeah, I'll be a King James. Let's get it. And you been down so long, we gon' buy nicknames. So get suited up like we courtside at the next game.
Yeah, you the one that's working for it. You the one that curved them for me. You the one that's searching for me. You the one that's hurting for me. You the one that deserve it from me. You the one that's perfect for me. Yeah, she a little freak. Yeah, she only do it for me. Yeah, yeah. What you don't know, girl, you know that I'm willing to teach. Yeah, yeah. Reaching your peak. Yeah, you know I'm the one with that reach. You know that. Yeah. Loving your body. Yeah, loving your body. Yeah, yeah. Loving your body. Yeah, yeah. You know you got it. Yeah, yeah. Getting excited, feeling erotic. She a little thotty for me. She only do it for me. Told her this ain't for free. Look what you did to the sheets. She said I'm going too deep. Girl, I'ma put you to sleep, make you addicted. Me, know I'm a king when I'm in the east. Made you my queen, I'm playing for keeps. Ay, we used to f in the G, that's when the was cheap. And took you to Telly's, eating at delis. We used to ride out the Philly. I'ma take you out, we could ride around, just the 2 of us. You my twin flame, ain't no doubt about it, we be so in love. From me your club, I ain't pulling out, I'ma shoot it up. Cause you the one, shawty, you the one. Yeah, you the one that's working for it. You the one that curved them for me. You the one that's searching for me. You the one that's hurting for me. You the one that deserve it from me. You the one that's perfect for me. Yeah, she a little freak. Yeah, she only do it for me. Yeah, yeah. What you don't know, girl, you know that I'm willing to teach. Yeah, yeah. Reaching your peak. Yeah, you know I'm the one with that reach. You know that. Yeah. Loving your body. Yeah, loving your body. Yeah, yeah. what you need. I'm in the earth, plant my seeds, and I watch them grow till I say my piece.
Now we finally have it, a game 3. Was wondering when we were going to get the first one of the tournament. We had lots of opportunities. Look, we had 4 best of 3s today, 4 tomorrow, 4 on Friday. If we didn't have one that happened by Friday, that would have been absolutely ridiculous. And luckily, the Storm saved us this time around. The Wardens are able to show up really strong in game number 1, but a little murky there in game 2, Mifflin, as we start to break this one down. It was a lot more back and forth initially. In fact, we got to see, I think, a lot of presence from the Wardens that, depending on where you drop into that game, you think, oh, from this play, this is where we see the return to form, and they're going to win. But unfortunately, I think we had one of those moments, or at least I had one of those moments, and unfortunately for the Wardens, that was the last moment of that they had. From that point forward, we got a lot of bounce back, and it all kind of starts around that stolen Pyromancer. But from there, it starts to spiral, and you still get fight back from them. It's not necessarily a turnover and absolutely disappear, but the Storm are able to claw their way up to the top.
Yeah, I would argue a couple miracle plays from the Storm keep them alive in the early game, namely that Pyromancer steal, I think one of the biggest game-changing moments. Otherwise, though, even after that, I would argue it was still the Wardens playing proactively on the map, choosing where the engagements happened. They were doing everything that they could. They just couldn't quite secure these kills. And something that I had neglected to even realize during the Ps and Bs was just how slippery this Storm composition is. Sure, we talked about their dive potential, and they had plenty of it, and plenty of defense when they were there. But when it was time to retreat, you can't really deal with a Vamana easily. Loki's one of the most slippery picks in the game. Vyye has multiple leaps, CC immunity, Valo with that global presence as well. It just made it very difficult for the Kaolin Wardens to finish off their kills, and the Wardens at times just seemed unwilling to let the kills escape. They would continually chase out as far as they could and put themselves into pretty poor positions consistently. Otherwise, though, I think we got to sing the praises of the Wardens, or the Storm rather, being able to make those adjustments in Game 2. It's not exactly orthodox, but who would have thought? Getting MandoWarrior off of ADCs, off of these Magical Hunters, off of these standard dual lane picks, and putting on things that he had been playing for so long in the Soul Lane would work out, and it's exactly what happens. A phenomenal performance from him on this Loki. 9 affected kills. Valo as well getting involved. I'd said he had struggled to keep up with Elleon on the map. He did that and then some in this game.
Yeah, the Thor pick definitely changes things up to the point where after the performances we've been seeing from Thor's today, if I'm the Wardens, I'm not first pick. I might be banning that away. I might be scooping it up first if we have the opportunity, or if they have the opportunity to do so. And I am going to reiterate a Smite Pro tweet, which is just because you saw MandoWarrior succeed with a Loki carry role does not mean that you're MandoWarrior from now on. Well, you specifically, Mivley. I realized I was looking you in the eye while I said it.
Hey, it's fine.
You can play whatever the hell you want.
Say
I
what
recognize.
you want to say. I can't play Loki. I get it. All right, whatever.
No, the last time you played Loki, you carried the hell out of me.
I'm telling you, bro. Shadow Drinker Loki.
It was more fun. I'm trying to make Maui plays and feel like I can do something, and then every time I show up in a lane and I'm ready for a hook, you just kill them. And I'm like, fair enough, man. All right, I'll go do whatever I can. And I had to back off. And unfortunately for the Wardens, that's more or less what happens for them, or to them, this time around. We'll go into Picks and Bans game number 3. Wardens will be first pick. And now I'm curious where they go with some of their changes. I personally, and I'm kind of curious if you agree, is Thor, especially after what the Storm just did with him first pick, someone that you let through if you're the Wardens just so you can grab it?
Yeah, I wonder if the Wardens would even take it in that first slot. Elleon, of course, a very storied Thor player, but
he does like to wait for his picks.
He's also steadfast in being stubborn. Elleon, maybe more than anybody else, hates the idea of respect bans. He hates it because it gives respect over the enemy, and he doesn't want to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Thor gets just left available, and so far the Wardens have done exactly that. Grabbing themselves a Freya, though, feels pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's actually the Storm who take away the Thor. I thought for sure they'd be vying for that selection, but instead trying to limit Elleon, keep him off of his favorites, and it's 3 bans tossed his way.
And this is the first Freya game I believe we're seeing all day. To catch you up on the bans, as you had mentioned, though, Vamana, Loki, 2 respect bans, I think, thrown towards the Storm. Ymir joining that list, then Mercury, Naja, Thor. You had mentioned it, 3 target bans. Right then, right there. Freya locked in. And you had been a very good course corrector for me last year, where Freya had received those changes to the pulse like early on that made her a lot stronger. And in my mind, it took me like 2 weeks to reformat in my brain that Freya was no longer just the late game carry.
And take over this land.
I have seen some really frightening early game Freya presences. I feel like the Wardens are going to be able to utilize that to a really, really effective point.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and make a hot take, as I'm apt to do. I think Freya is the best magical hunter in the game right now. Her damage output, her survivability, all of that incredibly strong. Best PvP magical hunter in the game. Hop on Twitter, you'll probably see plenty of people disagreeing with me, but I think that is legitimately what she brings, is a one-man army in the late game. If the Wardens so choose, they could build a 4 king protection composition and just have the king be Freya, and she would do it all for you if she's 6-slotted. So the Wardens already, with their top selection, draft themselves a very strong win condition. And maybe the best part of Freya is that mitigations builds, magical defense builds, they don't really concern her. Her damage output is that ridiculous in the late game that she's going to chew through just about anyone regardless. So far, the Warden's doing a great job of building a strong line of defensive gods just around her. The Achilles is going to create space. The Bacchus is very good at setting up and even creating space as well. So for now, it's a facilitate the Freya composition. Whereas on the other hand, the Storm, who in Game 1 went as bog standard as you could go with their draft, lose out. Game 2, move themselves a little bit more so towards the unorthodox and find themselves a well-fought win. Here in Game 3, have the potential to go for a similarly aggressive composition and have already done very well leaning into the dive, which was the best part of the Storm's previous composition. I'd like to see a little bit more tanky frontline from them, but already with their top 3, it indicates to me that they figured out what they were doing well, and they're looking to optimize on it now.
A lot of presence is what they were able to bring. I didn't know what we were going to be continuing when we got into the second ban phase. I mean, junglers, Achilles could fall on that list, but of course it is something we haven't seen as often. Meanwhile, Awelish takes a shot. Pele takes a shot. 5 bans, 1 mans. And it's all Elleon that they're trying to target out there. Other side, Ganesh was a pretty big problem. In fact, 3, I would say, of the big problems that they had last time the Wardens have dealt with here. With Tiamat still over there, like you said, maybe some of the essence of the draft still existing, but at least limited. Maybe another support ban here to try and limit some of those Guardians. I've been surprised, and you know, you were talking about this earlier actually in our cast, how high up Bacchus has been prioritized, considering Yamoja and Maui are both available right now.
Yeah, surprised to see it, but Oceans just really likes to be different from everybody else. That is one of his highest prioritized, I suppose, gameplay avenues, is I want to do what other people aren't. So Bacchus, I think, fits that while still remaining within the realm of standard. It still is just a Guardian. It still is an Initiator, a Facilitator. So if he's got to be different, this is a good way to do it. That said, I mean, Maui's just real good. Yamoja's just really, really good. But not good enough, I suppose, to sway the mind of Oceans. I'm looking at the jungle selections still available. Leon in the past has fallen back towards things like Hubwa. I don't think I'd like to see that. A magical jungler, when you've already got a Freya and a Bacchus on your team, would just get them even more value for magical defense, which will likely get stacked up by the Storm just by nature of having a Freya on the side of the Wardens. Would like to see him on something physical. Could fall back towards the Ratatasker, one that he has got a good amount of time playing on competitively. Otherwise, I mean, you can't really go wrong with any of the assassins. Could even look towards things like the Hercules out of the jungle. That's something I've been a steadfast defender of. I'm a massive fan of what Hercules can bring there. His damage output in the early game, just incredibly high. But with 5 bans tossed Leon's way, we'll get an idea of his own personal priority list. And it seems like he's got to think real hard about it. We are dipping into the bank time pretty heavy.
It's something that you got to be pretty sure of. I also think, you know, even looking towards the mid lane matchup.
How do I forget about Lancelot?
Was going to be a fun one. Only picked once so far today. He gets locked in alongside the Agni. I'm going to be honest with you. While you were trying to puzzle that out, I've been looking at this circuit and, like, trying to run simulations in my head, and it feels like...
No way.
Well, I'm glad I didn't get to finish my sentence. I was going to say it has to be support,
I was
right?
with
Like,
you.
there was no way it's anything else. Now I don't know what to expect. Over there with a Guan Yu, with the Ares. I mean, definitely a different style, but you have to give them credit. Unorthodox won them the last game. And while I might not be able to tell you who's going where, that's what worked out for him pretty well in game number 2.
As far as strategy is concerned, pretty similar here from the Storm in game 3. Run it down, get active, get in the back line, have Circuit dive, Cliodhna,
Kill 'em dead.
Guan Yu, Tiamat, all of them, just running it down. And they've even got the exact same facilitation style. Ganesh has the silence, sure, but also with that silence, the massive infusion of protections to everyone around him. Ares does largely the same thing with bolstered defense. So I think as far as execution is concerned, the Storm have got themselves something that plays exactly like they had in game 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd like to see it be a bit cleaner than we did in game 2, requiring those miracle steals. I think not exactly a position you want to be put in,
Yeah.
but one that they could do the exact same way with a Tiamat reprising her performance here in game 3. I like this draft from both sides. I think not something I would want to see other teams running, but with the data of this set so far, I think certainly something the Storm are capable of executing on. Whereas on the other side, this Agni pick is not something we've seen a whole lot.
Nope.
But when I look at Reddit, when I look at all the Twitch streamers and all these mage power ranking tier lists, a lot of people have got Agni incredibly high up, which is why I was surprised to see him take so long to make appearance so far today. The damage output's incredibly strong. The new builds really do work well with him. Maybe not the best Tablet of Destiny guy, but could still utilize that item very, very well. Soul Gem, it all kind of lines up to it. Agni gets online a lot earlier than he once did, so it's a good Agni meta. Besides that, though, having so much of your damage through magical on this composition, a lot of your secure for kills coming from Freya and Agni means that the Storm will likely find some value early on. Heart wards, pestilences, things along those lines probably going to be looked at. So if that's the case, now you're looking at the jungler.
Yeah.
He's essentially got a runway now, Elleon that is, where it's, okay, well, they're probably not really worried about me. Everybody else is a lightning rod. This Agni is a priority pick that they have to deal with. This Freya is a priority pick they have to deal with. And that should facilitate Leon to have a pretty decent performance on this Lancelot.
The one thing I have noticed, though, that stands out to me is that while you still have a dive comp, you have a lot of people on the Wardens that can self-peel, as well as help each other out. We'll see if that's what puts them above and beyond. It's game number 3 here in set number 4, and of course, it's J-Mac and Trelly.
We talked about some of the strange things that the Storm players have had to do in the past to find some wins. I think back to the Anansi Weavers of last phase. It seems that we're getting a lot of similarities from game number 2 where they found their success. Now here in game number 3 as the Xibalba Storm try to fight back to make themselves a little bit easier of a path as we continue forward for potential winners bracket. It's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug one final time today as we go into our first 3 game set fully through for these compositions out there. But the same double assassin style of play from the Xibalba Storm as we saw in game 2, Trelly.
It is the same style. It is a bit different, though, because you get more objective damage with Cliodhna. You get less, I'm invisible behind you, I'm going to 100-0 you because your beads are down type play, which Loki brings. I still think, the speed at which Mando can farm is great. And that, the biggest problem and the reason that Xibalba Storm didn't win that match, 5 minutes earlier, was because they couldn't just do Fire Giant. They do have a much better time trying to do Fire with this comp, but it's still not easy. It's still not quick. What I will say is I'm a big fan of Agni in this current meta. One of my favorite ranked gods at the moment, and I think you could build him a couple different ways. You can just go, Book of Thoth, Divine Soul Gem. That's always fine. You can go Tablet. You can still get tons of value out of that. But look at this. Valo not going mid, not going solo. Actually going to chill out in duo lane for a bit. Probably trying to pick off Oceans if he flops in or even get the beads down. But immediately just drops a ward very close to Valo. But clearly didn't show him off just yet.
Maybe they did. Because, look how far back Tubahh is sitting right now. I think Valo has now been pinged on that ward. So good on Oceans for dropping that up there. Maybe recognizing that Valo could get aggressive with this kind of a start. At least for now, it'll be safe over in the dual lane. Elleon, though, hitting level 3. Could make a rotation to any of these lanes now. On a Lancelot. Valo blinks in, misses the taunt on both shots against Joshy, who has a quick 180 dash to get away from those ones. But where is Elleon heading toward? Seems like could be the dual lane for a very high-end gank. Dingodile finds the chains onto 2, throws the third one onto Oceans, the stun there, and now Elleon has made his way over, finds the slow onto Dingodile, gets the knockback, and has the dashes if needed for the extra damage. Silence goes through from Mando. It's a lot of damage from this Cliodhna, but not enough support for Dingodile. He will drop down, and it is first blood at 1.5 minutes for the Kaolin Wardens.
Yeah, it's a great start for the Lancelot there. I think that, you know, Valo tried to go for the cringe gank option where, hey, you don't know we're here. Ocean's great idea, just walks up, says, hey, maybe I'll ward just in case, and catches out. And now you got Freya off to a great start. You get the dual lane just in general off to a great start, and you give that kill over to Leon. And he can do a lot with a first blood, especially on a god like Lancelot. Slaaaash definitely getting the better end of MaIachi once again. We've been talking about these starter items. If you go Sigil, you're going to be getting out pressure, but also if you can get your Talu Assault stunned out, Slaaaash is going to be able to do that pretty much every time. So MaIachi is not going to have a fun time clearing wave for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for at least the amount of things that can be canceled out by other channeling abilities there. You saw Mando able to stop the belch from Oceans. Could be the same, the opposite way if the silence is channeled a little too late for MandoWarrior, but you just get to see the constant. Who's going to get their full scream off? Will it be the belch of the Bacchus, or will it be the actual screaming from Mando on the Cliodhna? So far, Mando's been getting the better end of those trades.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some poke damage off. It does look kind of goofy, though. The Bacchus just burping, and then just Cliodhna just yelling.
It's like, stop doing that! That's what she's screaming for. She's like, stop!
Yep, and it's not going to work out. I guess for either of them in this case, because you're not going to get too much damage off. But purple buff is going to be fine. So Ket making a beeline for the purple buff. Walked over 2 wards, and it seems like does not care. Will Oceans be able to get there in time, or maybe a clutch whoop from Tubahh over the wall? But Valo smart, pulling it as far back as possible to make sure that one goes down. Doesn't seem like the Lancelot's going to make the full-on rotation just yet, but the whoop might be able to stall out Valo just long enough for the blink to come through. Nope, no blink even available. Just has the beads. The wing shard I thought was blink for a second, but it's not. It's just a wing shard.
Yeah, unfortunately it is just wing shard, but fortunate for Valo, did find that taunt. Vyye in danger now. Knockback not there for Elleon. Let's maybe punt the Tiamat back in place to set up for Joshy. Instead, it's a fight over the buff that
Got it with the
Oceans
auto?
won.
I saw
With
the
a
auto,
single
and I
auto.
didn't even think he was close enough. This is what I'm talking about. When we saw the Maui play, what'd I say? This does not look like the Bacchus gameplay. This is the gameplay you want to see, where Oceans is just getting aggressive. Yeah, and you know, you can't miss any Bacchus abilities. You can try. The flop you can miss, but everything else, you're going to get value out of.
But say, you haven't seen my Bacchus, clearly.
I mean, you can miss the flop. That's fine. But you're not missing anything else, surely.
No. Just the flops.
Okay.
Just missing the flops. Those are usually like going like a mile away from where I was actually intending to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to have a little fun with it. But beats do go down, though. Tubahh did not hit level 4, didn't get his own purple buff XP, which means that Dingo was able to find that ultimate, get the beats down early, and now you think Valo's got an opening. Where's that Circuit? Currently on the left side of the map. Wouldn't be surprised if a trip towards the duo lane would be on the jungler's mind.
We'll see where Valo and Elleon head next. The Jotun's Wrath for both, some extra CDR for the 2 junglers, a little bit of extra power as well. It seems that mid could be the call. It's level 7 Joshy on the Agni, does find the bomb stun onto Vyye. A lot of damage, but quick taunt by Valo will push Elleon away from maybe being able to find that extra damage on the Tiamat. Now with Oceans here, should deter them from going too much further forward. Valo will get hit by the belly flop. Not really doing a whole lot of damage, mostly just Oceans telling Valo to stay away from Elleon so that Elleon can make a rotation towards this blue buff, where MaIachi has just been being bullied not only in lane, but apparently in jungle as well. As no blue buff for him at the moment. Valo jumps out, dismount through, Elleon dives in, but Vyye is locked in place and executed by Slaaaash. Dingodile just there to watch as his teammate falls.
Yeah, this Achilles pick has been pretty effective so far this tournament, especially if you're able to find those clutch executes in moments like that. It did seem like maybe Vyye was able to use the beads and jump over the wall, but probably assumed he was dead regardless, and, you know, rightfully so. Very weak. The Tiamat is going to fall down. giving Slaaaash the first kill of this Achilles' game thus far. He's going to help out in the lane as well as just an aggressive force throughout the entirety of this game. An XQ threshold, especially with an Ares on the map, there's not much juking to be done. You're pretty much just going to step up. You want to blink in, initiate, and if you can get that fatal strike off before the pull comes through, that helps the rest of your team hold on to their beads. I'm thinking pretty smart so far for Slaaaash to get that, but now Tubahh's in a position where he doesn't want to step up too far in this lane either. Cliodhna always has 100 to 0 potential if you're able to connect with your abilities. At the moment, it's just stacking Soul Eaters, so isn't going to do too much damage. But you don't want the wave to be starved at tower line as a Freya. You don't want to put yourself that far out of position just to get some farm.
Yeah, there's a lot of distance that Mando can cover on that Cliodhna. I mean, you see how far back Tubahh is standing from that wave, and just from MandoWarrior in general, paying a lot of respect to the Cliodhna. But because of that, because of the stolen buff earlier on, Tubahh's been falling a bit behind, level 6 to level 8 of MandoWarrior, who's actually using the Veils to start tearing away at some of these Bastions HP, about half on the one on the left. Rotation from Valo. Seems that may have been spotted out or at least called off by the Xibalba Storm. Tubahh just wants to clear anything he can, so he throws Mando in the sky so he can clear out a couple more archers. Collapsing by Oceans. Mando able to get into the wall just in time. Well, instead, fire some damage back onto Tubahh. Half HP on the Freya, but a flop in just off the mark by Oceans. That should be the end of the fight between the two.
Yep, Valo is going to step over, grab that shield buff for himself. It's going to help out just a little bit of that tank stats. Make sure if you have a fight in the jungle, you'll be just fine. Horse off the mark. So the shield remains for now. As we do see a full-on rotation over to the left side of the map from just about everyone. Dingo is that target, but no execute over here, so that health is not going to do it. You're going to have to fully kill that Ares if you want to try to put him down. And it looks like that's going to be the end of it. No relics used, just a full-on scrap on the left side of the map. Maybe some relics used here, though. And actually, Joshy dashes in.
Pull is good, but maybe that's what Elleon wanted, because he turns the fight around. Vyye able to drop down Joshy, and now Valo has joined the way. Beads gone from Elleon. A dash in, and an ultimate does connect. But Elleon will ult out, gets that shield, and that should be more than enough to keep him out for the last breath poison kill. A 1-for-1 trade, but that's support for mid.
Yeah, I get it. You know, when you're an Agni and you know you're getting Ares pulled, sometimes you just want to dash in and get aggressive off it. But in this case, I think Joshy didn't have to make that play. Probably could have dashed away and lived to see another day. And a good rotation in from Valo to at the very least get the beads down. But that is going to put the Wardens ahead even more so. 3-1 in their favor. Almost 1,000 gold. It's sort of jumping back and forth at this point. And so far, no real objective looks just yet. I know a lot in Season 9 we'd see an attempt at early Gold Fury with a lead like this, but not enough for either one of these teams to feel real confident around an objective. And now Dingo's got a very clear target. There's an Agni with no CC immune ult, who doesn't have beads for another 100 seconds. I'm thinking Joshy's going to be staying back, trying to keep this Ares in combat once that ult comes off cooldown.
Speaking of keeping people in combat, Slaaaash has consistently been poking at MaIachi to make sure he sticks to that tower as long as possible before he ends up going back. Teleport down for 10 seconds for MaIachi, so he's going to make the long trek back to the tier 1 tower. That'll give Slaaaash some free farm to push minions into the wave, or into the tower, I should say. Well, Oceans gets a little bit of poke towards Dingo and Vyye. It's 2 levels down for Oceans, but 1 level up for Joshy. A fight between the mage and the assassin. Tubahh up to the sky, needed more than just the Valkyrie's discretion damage. But that sets Mando in danger. Same for Dingo, as he has got to back away with the rest of his squad to regenerate.
I think that at this point, I love the scrapping in duo lane, first of all. Tubahh and Mando just going back and forth, trying to find relics, just using everything to try and force out some damage is nice. Because once Freya gets that second item online, that's when she is essentially unfightable. When you get Hasten Ring and Telekines, it's very difficult to try and trade with her unless you're catching her off guard or forcing out a relic or that ultimate. However, I'm loving the build from Dingo, you know, the prophetic cloak. It's hard to stack up, and now it might be even harder to try and live as Joshy makes the rotation over to try and put this Ares down.
Bomb stun is good. Whoop will lock Dingo down to the sky. Long enough for Elleon to take the kill. Valo goes down as well, but Joshy is low. Mando trades out a 2-for-1, making it 2-for-2 as Elleon walks into Vyye and eats too much damage from the mid laner. And that is jungle mid for jungle support on the opposite side. Ocean's not able to keep his teammates alive during that one, and Vyye turning it back around.
Yep, that is going to be a big play there from Vyye. This Tiamat has been something he's been going to quite a lot so far in this entire set.
A lot of Tiamat today.
And lots of different builds as well. We saw the tablet first game. In the second game, it was immediately into a Soul Reaver. And now, Vyye going back for the tablet, it would seem, to try and get those stacks online, try and help that damage late game. Realize the Slaaaash is going to be W keying, and also Ocean's going to be very tanky. It just adds to the amount of poke that Tiamat can have. The point I was making earlier, though, is the fact that I think Prophetic Cloak fits Ocean's playstyle so well. How much have we seen this man just walk up, try and find a stun, flop onto someone when there's no one around? He seems like the kind of support player that could easily stack this item up, but is more focused on Gauntlet of Thieves for the team and that breastplate of regrowth so he can zoom around the map with Chug.
I would have imagined that would have been an item that does fit his playstyle so perfectly. I mean, so many support games that I've been playing, I grabbed the Prophetic Cloak, and me and the other support were like, yo, you need a stack, bro? Yeah, me too. You just want to hit it? Yeah, mid laners are gone? Cool. We'll just have a little bit of fun, get a couple of free stacks for ourselves.
I'm the kind of support that'll bait you into that and then juke your ability at the last second. I'm like, yeah, man, free stack, I swear. Then I'll jump over and run away, and I'll get mine, and you don't get anything.
No, then you actually have like your jungler secretly behind another wall over here that they don't see, so you just ambush him instead.
Yep.
But will not be prophetic for Oceans. Instead, it's the Gauntlet of Thebes into what I believe may be another one of those shield or a breastplate of regrowth. So I gotta get out of the habit of the shield of regrowth. It's gone. It's a breastplate now. Well, it looks like we may be seeing that for Oceans here in game number 3.
Should be the call. I mean, it's a lot of fun as well as it's just good. If you can catch up, you know, try and chase some of these targets with multiple escapes down. In this case, Valo will be a great target. You pop that Chug. You look for the flop, see what you can find. Oceans, a little bit off the mark. Just wanted to stand there and sort of, yeah. He was standing menacingly, but also I think he was like, oh man, like I missed. I'm just gonna sit here and be sorry for myself for a bit. As Valo is pinged out on the ward, Tubahh is all but aware that there is a Socket nearby and isn't gonna step up too far underneath this tower. I've been talking about Fury. With the way this entire set has been played, I don't think Fury's going to be the call, but Oceans maybe getting looked at here. Does have a nice stun, but his chain still for such a long time. And there's the ult back.
Valo?
Yep,
there he goes. He's got it. But dashing by Joshy, a lot of damage towards Valo. A whoop. Ought to be the one-for-one trade, but Oceans for a enemy Circuit, probably a pretty decent trade. Valo's been behind for the majority of this game. Level 14 on Elleon, who has just helped to take down a tier 1 tower on the right side versus Oceans, who's been down pretty much the entire game himself. So maybe it just comes out to even between the two.
Yep, with MaIachi dead off that gank as well, I figured we'd see something, but no objectives to be had. It looks like just going to accept that they can kill 2, and that's it. Tubahh, you're standing in the veil, man. You can't take this fight and shouldn't be able to make it out of this one. One ability will do it.
And the taunt.
And you see Tubahh's reaction. He's like, come on, man. But you got to watch out for that damage in the wall. I mean, if you're going to let this clean it escape into the wall and get her cooldowns back, you're not going to win those trades. And win those trades, Tubahh did not. Going to fall down and give the second kill of the game. In this case, Mando's second kill of the game over to himself.
That's what I miss about competitive Smite, Charlie, is the classic taunts after the kills. Maybe another one up against Oceans. It's a repeat of the exact same skirmish we saw earlier, but this time Slaaaash has joined the fray. Ocean's able to jump away from the ultimate, but there are 5 collapsing on this Achilles. That is enough to get the ultimate from both of them. Only Elleon holding on to one. Joshy just a few seconds away from an extra bomb of his own, but not going to continue on the Gold Fury. The Xibalba Storm forced Slaash's rotation over, and that seems to be just enough for them.
So far, but Elleon is here and wants to get aggressive onto Dingo. Dingo's gone, and this fight's not over just yet. MaIachi's trying to heal up his team, and it looks like without the execute, the fight should have been done, but Leon goes in again?
Vyye has to use the beads just so he can jump away from Elleon, but Elleon finds the double kill in the fight. And Trelly, this fight started with Oceans at like a 3rd HP, waltzing up to 3 players on the Xibalba Storm, and just forced him to turn and actually fight him.
And you're telling me Cloak wouldn't be sick for this man? Like,
get it or buy it, man.
I want to. I might just go over there and make him do it. But Pyromancer is going to be started up, immediately burned through. No one from the Storm is going to be even close to stepping up to this objective. Gold Fury not looked at, just going to be the Pyro for now. Who's going to grab the bomb? In this case, it will be Slaaaash, who has that runic bomb. So pay attention just in case you see some extra burst damage towards an objective or a tower. Could be used early on. I personally like to save them for late game when we're sieging, but if you're not 100% confident that you're going to be getting Fire Giant and just sieging, probably smart to just get value at it in the early, because there's plenty more chances to grab another one as the Pyromancer spawns back in.
You know what, thinking about it, wasn't a waltz by Oceans. It's more like a waddle. You're telling me if you put a penguin skin on Bacchus, he wouldn't look natural with that, just kind of waddle over towards him?
I would like a Bacchus penguin skin.
Now I want one.
What would it be called? You can't do half the work. You got to finish it.
Okay, well now you put me on the spot for trying to think of, I mean, God, like the only ones that come to mind are like Emperor penguins, so Emperor Bacchus, I don't know. No, that seems like it could be a royalty skin or something. I don't know. Now I want to see it.
I can't. Yeah, I got nothing. I was hoping
he's carrying like an ice block with him.
Yeah.
So it's
it could be a fish, but he already has.
Oh,
a
it could,
fish.
yeah, it could be a frozen fish, something like that.
Yeah,
we could do that. A little, like a frozen fish that he's carrying around for his weapon. I don't know what he's carrying in the other hand now. Maybe like a satchel that somebody left in the Antarctic.
There you go.
We got it. We've got the Bacchus.
You've done the work. Now we wait. we sit back.
Devs, it's on you now to get us a Bacchus.
The
penguin
ball's
skin.
in your court. We're gonna watch the Gold Fury. MandoWarrior is close enough to go for the steal through the wall. Will that be out the call? Vyye is actually nearby as well. Might go for the tornado or even the 2. Could be the call. And here's the steal.
Veil is not enough damage, and neither is the tornado. Elleon to the back line to find Vyye once again, but Vyye has backup from Valo. Elleon dashes out as quick as he can. Ocean's locked down by the chain. Elleon locked in place as well. Not enough damage to this Lancelot. Somebody has got to hit him. Dingo yank one, but Lancelot will not make it out. MandoWarrior drops down Elleon. Ocean's alive for only a moment. That is 3, nearly 4 gone, but Slaaaash able to dash out. Is that far enough for him to go? MaIachi will lead the charge in Tier 1 tower falls. But Joshy and Slaaaash have made it. Okay, never mind. Maybe just Slaaaash is alive here. MandoWarrior not going to chase on the trail, but could still go for a dive.
I mean, how much mana does Mando really have here?
Not
One
much.
fully channeled ability is not going to be enough to get a kill here. It looks like just trying to stop Batz was the call, because the Fire Giant could have been on the call, but also the Xibalba Storm are just going to leave because Slaaaash is teleported back in full HP. Not enough damage, and with Mando over on left, I don't think the actual play call was ever to go for a Fire Giant there. Level 19, though. This Cliodhna has been unchecked, unscathed, and just doing tons of damage.
I thought you were going to go for the full commit on that one, Shrelly.
No, I'm just he's been unchecked.
It really has been. So far, Slaaaash on the Achilles. He's been able to get a couple of kills and assists to his name, but hasn't gone down just yet. There's been decent answers to him to really force these executes out early in the fights. Haven't really seen one connect for the actual kill just yet. It's mostly been used as an escape tool. The Xibalba Storm still fighting back through, even despite the 2K deficit. The Kaolin Wardens have at least put them down in 4 now, but seeing MaIachi able to fight back despite how much bullying was thrown his way early. Remember, Slaaaash was wrapping around Tier 1 tower to walk through just for poke. There were constant steals towards MaIachi's blue buff as well, but still able to hold up in this one, even going for a pathetic 3rd item, just try and get some extra defense online for himself.
Yeah, if this game goes very late, which it does have the tendency to do, since we've seen these Fire Giant dances between this team, you will be getting value out of that cloak there. And still, I need answers to MandoWarrior. This Cliodhna sitting 4-0 is still just sitting in lane, has not moved. Very difficult to try and lock her down when there's a wall nearby. And I think the entirety of the Wardens have realized that. It seems like they're down. They are up in gold. I mean, Leon is still 5-2, has 2-level lead. Slaaaash has had a level lead in the solo lane, and actually Tubahh just decided, you know what, I'm going to be behind, but I'm going to rotate over to objectives anyway. And here's the aggression.
MaIachi looping around the back of the fight. The Kaolin Wardens have spread themselves out. Elleon to half HP. MaIachi down to an 8th. The Valkyrie's discretion is enough. Tubahh turns it back around and finds the first kill of the team fight for the Kaolin Wardens. All this starting up over a Pyromancer that the Wardens can go right back to.
They are going to go back to it. Mando's here, Vye's here. Both have plenty of burst damage. The blink in is going to claim the beads there from Vyye. And it looks like Valo's in this fight as well, but Vyye jumps in.
Mando loses out on the beads. A lot of damage could come from this cleanup, but it's not there just yet. Ocean's running away, but Mando wants to close in the gap. The silence damage is good, and the dot after is even better, but Slaaaash finds Valo in the back. Mando gets the double kill onto Tubahh. This could be a lot for the Cliodhna. Needs the dash to find Joshy just out of range as Joshy dashes away. Vyye is getting all the help that he can from Dingo and is even doing a lot of damage right back through. One more hit onto either of these two could do it, but Mando has rejoined the fray and MaIachi grabs the kill.
Yeah, and who's going to be able to chase down Slaaaash? Is he going to be able to hide and get his back off? I'm just going to let this one play out. I'm so glad I didn't say anything. I wanted to see that so bad. And
oh, man.
MaIachi knew exactly where he was, but was not able to curve the Taolu assault around that wall.
He just like takes and just throws it instead. Just like a boomerang almost trying to get him.
Yep, nope. That ability doesn't go through the wall there, so we'll be just fine. Still in the lead are the Wardens. Gold-wise, kills were even. And I think a few questions have been answered, but Mando is still going unchecked. Every time I see this clean in the fight, it seems like she's doing more damage. Finish Bluestone and Heartseeker there.
And Crusher.
I need some damage onto Cliodhna, and I'm not seeing who's got it just yet.
Maybe even some additional anti-heal to deal with it as well. That's Soul Eater. Gonna give Mando a lot of sustain. There is some answer to it, at least Divine Ruin for Joshy, but so far that's the only anti-heal to deal with the sustain that Mando has.
Just burp on her, man. She'll be
You know
fine.
what? That's fair. But unfortunate for Oceans, he's been yanked all over the place by Dingodile with this Ares. All these no escapes have been pulling him back around. Just hasn't been able to get back there and try and help deal with Mando.
Yeah, I would say at this point, it's very difficult to make this call because it seems like Tubahh still can be effective in fights, but I would say send Freya over to duo lane, just hit level 20. If they go for fire, defend 5v4. I mean, the level 17 Freya is fine. 4 items is all right, but look at the opposition, man. There's just so much damage online from just about everyone else. I think you really need to get your carries online. I wouldn't be mad if Oceans got some extra farm. This is a level 13 Bacchus. Has some good, decent tank stats online, but now you can tell, despite the fact that the Wardens have been in control all game, they're too afraid to walk up to a Primal Fury without the help of their team. Now it's going to be a full grouping. Slaaaash and Oceans leading the charge. But they're not going to commit unless that Primal Fury is half health or less.
Xibalba Storm, start up the Primal. Full 10-man grouping towards the objective. Dingodile goes in, 2 with the ultimate, 2 pulled in, and a lot of damage thrown towards Oceans. He gets hit by the last breath as well, and that will spread the poison to 2 more. Vyye doing a lot, but Vyye goes down. Elleon dashes through 4, but it's still not enough. Mando lives, but gets whooped by Tubahh, who will take him down. It's now Tubahh and Slaaaash leading the charge for the Kaolin Wardens. And Dingodile on his last leg gets thrown down to the ground by Elleon, who picks up the double.
And I love this call. Immediately channel those backs and head towards Fire Giant. That Tubahh got the 6-0 shutdown. That's exactly what you want if you are the Wardens. If you could pick one member on your team who desperately needed that gold, you got it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see this item in action, but Oceans gets the absolution to actually immune one of these Ares pulls. I'm excited to see it in action if we get to. But now you got plenty of Wardens rushing towards Fire Giant with just MaIachi and Valo who are trying to defend. There is vision on this objective. It looks like that ward is going to stand here. Who's going to be able to go for the steal? I mean, you got some decent attempts, but the Runic Bomb is currently in Mando's pocket, and he is dead for at least 2 more seconds.
MaIachi tries to disrupt this fire, so does Valo. MaIachi's losing a lot of HP.
He got it!
And they steal it away, but on landing from the whoop, it will be an execute. Going the way, the Kaolin Wardens lose the fire. It was the dash from the Guan Yu, 182 damage.
I don't get it.
To steal it away.
You can just Agni Bomb in a Flame Wave, and you're never getting out-confirmed by that dash, but I guess the call was burst it down quick, the rest of the team is coming, and they were not able to get that call off. So now the Xibalba Storm are able to get that Fire Giant for themselves. They lose their Soul Laner's life. But I'm calling that worth every day of the week. You got 4 members of your squad with that Fire Giant, and they're able to now group up and push at their own pace.
Yeah, it seems the Xibalba Storm will take some time, and Maybe we can take a moment to look at that Fire Giant steal from MaIachi. I thought the call was going to be kill MaIachi while he's standing in the pit. I mean, he spread the team fight around. He's basically by himself. Valo is out of the pit that entire time. And I thought this was the call, just kill MaIachi. He's half HP, but instead steals it away with the dash. Gets executed after, but Xibalba Storm, now it's the rest of the team besides MaIachi who gets a benefit from the Fire Giant buff.
It's such a low percentage steal because you know there are members of the enemy team that are going to be funneling in if they take too long on MaIachi. But the difference is, hey, we didn't get fire as opposed to, wait, they did get fire. So I'm thinking, I'd rather just not get fire and stall on killing MaIachi as opposed to this. Because now the Xibalba Storm have a little bit of pressure here. Good poke on to Slaaaash, and actually a good little gank onto the Achilles. Going to get him about half health, but no chase down. Try and put this Achilles even further behind. It looks like the Xibalba Storm aren't going to group and push with this objective. They are just going to try and catch up. Keep pushing Dingo even further ahead. He's 3 levels above Oceans. And get everyone else to level 20. Vyye would love to upgrade that starter item, get some extra CDR online to continuously spam these abilities and finish stacking up that tablet. Whereas Joshy, he already has the upgraded starter. He just wanted to start pushing down tier 2 towers with Fire Giant, but they don't get to make that call.
Pyro is taken by the Storm. Nobody there to be able to pick up the Runic Bomb. That'll just probably fade away on the ground. It doesn't seem for anybody from the Storm going to have the opportunity to pick that one up. So mostly just there for the objective, for the extra gold and XP to the Xibalba Storm. And Charlie, this might be the first time today that we've actually seen a Prophetic Cloak fully stacked up. Dingodile managed to get the last stacks during that Fire Giant push earlier on. And that is a lot going on for them. 55 all prots for the Prophetic Cloak, but also the aura of 30 of each towards his team. Couple that along with the Gauntlet of Thieves, and that is a lot of free protections he's giving over to his squad.
Yeah, 85 all prots for himself, as well as
that's insane.
Yeah, as well as the prots he's giving to his team. And now we see another dance around this Primal Fury. Slaaaash is going to walk up with no fear in the world. He's got that Sundering proc that's consistently chunking out whoever he decides to hit. But MaIachi, since he got some extra time to farm up between these last fights, did get his level 20, got that Sigil of the Old Guard, and Dingo's going in.
Dingo will pull Oceans. Oceans holds on to his ultimate for a little bit later. Uses it just now. Gives the cleanse to his team, but Oceans is low. Pulled back again by Valo. Tubagh's ult used early in the fight. And Slaaaash in the middle of 4. Mando is unscathed during this fight as he is continuing his push up with his counterpart assassin Valo, and Mando doing so much damage during this fight. And nearly everybody on the Storm at full HP besides MaIachi.
Yeah, Slaaaash and Elleon didn't decide to use their ultimates there. Didn't seem like the fight was that good or decided to go against it. I do like this call, though. Look towards the right side of the map. Fire Giant's about to spawn in. Get as much presence as you can as quickly as you can. Drop your wards, you know, invade some jungle. See if anyone's lurking around, maybe a free relic. And this could be what Vyye is giving up if Elleon didn't just walk over 2 wards in the process. But not an easy chance to just go for the burst. I mean, we know what's capable now. 181 damage steal last time around. I don't think the Wardens are just going to be going for the pull and trying to 50-50 when we're 50 seconds away from Enhanced Fire Giant.
Ooh, big bomb stun. But Ocean's eating a lot of damage from the Xibalba Storm. Tubahh thrown back. He doesn't have Valkyrie's Discretion. Mando has caught him out, and Vyye has taken him out. And now Slaaaash on the run. Ocean still in the middle of 3. Will be chained up by Dingodile, and that is 2 now gone from the Kaolin Wardens. Xibalba Storm have found their fight back in. And look, Mando's still holding on to a Runic Bomb from almost 10 minutes ago. And now the Xibalba Storm move into the fire.
And they get to go for their own Fire Giant. Slaaaash is pretty far away here if he wanted to go for a steal. It does seem like he wants to walk in and will make a chance. Remember, you called it out, that Runic Bomb is available, but also some executes could be on the cards here. Maybe Joshy could step up and try and put some damage out. That Fire Giant's burning low, but not quite going for the burst, and Leon's here.
Mando's still holding on to the palm. Dingodile down. Elleon finds some damage, but MaIachi only gets the stun onto Slaaaash, who's still charging forward. Will be pushed away by the tornado, but once again, it is 4 with fire. Last time, it cost MaIachi's life to steal it away. This time, Dingo's life to secure it for his team.
And 2 red buffs, 1 going to Mando, 1 going to Vyye. The strength of Tiamat this late in the game. And when you don't have a traditional ADC, no one wants purple buff. You could just both get those red buffs. And that's going to mean Mando is doing even more damage. If you've been paying attention to these fights, he's doing a lot already.
Well, I'm seeing that over on the left side.
Yeah, the Cliodhna has been able to just half held through the walls, and when you're getting power pots and red buffs online, it's going to be pretty much 100 to 0 if you're getting hit by all of that damage. Unfortunately, some good engage, but Oceans is not tanky enough. As simple as that. This Bacchus is flopping in and then just getting focused out. Of course, Dingo is also dying, but luckily the rest of his team is able to dish out enough damage that it doesn't really matter. A level 15 Bacchus cannot provide that much setup and peel throughout the entirety of these team fights.
Valo doesn't have an empty slot to be able to pick up the runic charge. Will do so. Drops down a ward so he can pick that one up for himself. So now, another 2,000 damage sitting in the pockets, at least for structures and some of these minions and objectives for the Xibalba Storm. They could completely just drop one of these towers with Valo and Mando combined together, or a lot of disruption in the team fights if both of them get to either side of the fight. None used for the tier 2 tower, but all it takes is a moment, a single minion to walk into those Phoenixes. It could be the end of the road for a Phoenix with even one follow-up auto after. Kaolin Wardens on the back foot, down but not out. It's only 3,000 gold between them. And at this stage of the game, that is not quite the lead the Xibalba Storm need, but it's definitely one that they've been using very well so far. But look at the damage output that Joshy has on this Agni from such a range.
Yeah, it's not easy to siege these Phoenixes. Again, remember how they won last time with the Loki ADC? It was not through a fire giant into a siege. It was a full-on fight, and here's what they're looking for. Dingo gets some beads down, and MaIachi even goes into the cavalry charge. That's going to be it, though. Just wanted to grab those beads. One bomb used, and now it looks like Elleon's trying to chase down these assassins.
Will find one of them. Mando can't get to the wall this time. That was on cooldown. Now Vyye caught out in the middle of the jungle. Stun. Only finds Ocean's Tornado to chase them out. But it's 5 versus 4. Tubahh with some big damage from the sky, but it only hits the tanks this time. Elleon finds the root, the bomb stun from Joshy, the damage onto Dingodile. Elleon on a rampage with the Lancelot, with 2 gone from the Storm. They'll have to back away from the siege.
And they got to pick their targets as well. MaIachi does not have the ult up just yet and wasn't able to clear the full wave. So mid could be the call, try and grab a tier 2, but it looks like just chasing down the Guan Yu is the play. It's going to take them quite some time to kill, but I guess it eventually will stagger out the deaths and maybe open up the room for an EFG. And they're not even going to chase it down fully. They just let him go.
He's out. Is Vyye out as the question jumps over
Leon
the root?
wins
Vyye
this,
is
but
turning
he
around.
does!
Yes, he does. Do not doubt. Elleon on the Lancelot as he solos out Vyye for his 11th kill of the game. This is a man, Trelly, on a mission to make it to the SPL, and with plays like that, could lead the Kaolin Wardens back to victory.
I mean, Vyye had Aegis, bro. That's why I said I don't think he wins. He just decided to not Aegis the ult. Maybe he just thought he was going to kill him. I also thought he was going to kill him, so that was the call. Little overplayed his hand, and Elleon finds another kill in this case. Did not actually end up chasing down MaIachi, but they still have the one-man advantage towards this EFG, and they've got plenty of damage for it. The relics aren't looking too good. In fact, Elleon's got none from the 20 seconds, and that's only going to be the blink. But the carries have Aegis, and it looks like Tubahh's going untouched, has the beads, has the ult. A lot of safety for this Freya. But Mando was in the wall.
He was, but now he's out. Slaaaash taunted back and is not taking much damage at all. In fact, Valo got called out of his own stealth. Elleon will punch him around, but Valo gets the ultimate onto Elleon. The chain not enough, and neither is the last breath poison. Elleon lives, so does his counterpart Valo. Both will have to go back to base.
Yeah, now Vye's already here. Chase very far. Looks like trying to zoom out of here as MaIachi wants to try and find some chase down. The rest of the team's here, and Dingo knows whose beads are down, but not Joshy's. Will be just fine. Loses the beads, though. A little bit worrisome if that ultimate comes back up. These have been such long brawls. And a game number 3, we're 35 minutes in. Who cares about the goal differential, but it's nothing. And all you're waiting for is the supports to hit level 20. Besides that, relative even throughout. I suppose you could say MaIachi's scaling. He's still working on Cloak. So that could be some DPS.
I guess so. He'll get another stack, puts him at 19. Maybe one of the first tablet stacks that we've seen built up for Vyye. Maxed down his, not quite there for Joshy yet. Keep your eyes on this Agni. It's been this long-range artillery mage. It's been working out so well. MaIachi force on the horse very early. The fight goes back in. Valo does manage to find Tubahh and Josh in the back line. Oceans is almost gone. Vyye puts him down. Tubahh, as soon as he lands, is dropped to the dirt. Slaaaash will barely be able to dash away from the 5. Blinks out. And Elleon waiting with them in the back line of the fight. 5 for the Xibalba Storm. Move to the Fire Giant.
There's so many wards there.
But they will de-ward what they can. Didn't even finish that one. Instead, they're waiting to see who's willing to step up. Slaaaash is back from the fight.
Yep, Slaaaash is here. Leon's here. They've got plenty of damage, but Slaaaash could be in some trouble. Lots of lockdown, but this Achilles just doesn't die.
Runic Bomb is still there for secure if Valo needs it, and they might. With Joshy and Elleon alive, that's a lot of damage from those two. Fire Giant still being battered around here. Slaaaash is still in the midst of the pit. MaIachi goes in. Bomb is not there. Elleon is no longer there. Vyye will shut him down. Slaaaash is being tossed around and ping-ponged in the pit. And the Fire Giant is still not been done just yet. But with Joshy nowhere nearby, no need to waste the Runic Bomb on the objective. This time, it is all 5 with Fire Giant.
Yeah, I'm thinking if they couldn't kill him before, it's going to be tough to kill him now. Slaaaash still has ultimate as well, but the CC from Serket could be enough. Oceans flops in to make sure his solo laner is fine, but now who's going to save Oceans? It doesn't look like Oceans is the target. This Phoenix is being looked at. Remember, no range damage when you can get this close. That right side bird goes down.
Right side Phoenix gone mid lane under the eye of the Xibalba Storm. Slaaaash goes in again, full HP. He was almost dead, and now he's back to full. Dingodile gonna get executed. Slaaaash has found a quick turnaround back in the fight. Vyye is low, but Slaaaash cannot get in. Tubahh's trying to do the job, but cannot. Slaaaash gets turned on, but Joshy will eliminate the mid laner. Another 2-for-2 trade, an elongated fight, and a Phoenix as the only real prize for the Storm.
Yeah, that right side bird is massive, though. It's not easy breaking the base when you have this much, I guess when you're lacking this much range damage. Mando still has been doing plenty in these team fights, 50,000 to be exact. And it's just going to keep climbing. This game doesn't look like it's going to be ended anytime soon. The rest of the Wardens are going to walk up. What can they find? Who's going to lazy back? MandoWarrior, that could be one that they find out, and it will be, but can he get into a wall? Or Leon even want to try and chase this one. The rest of his team's on the way. This could be risky, but Mando is just going to run away to the wall. And the rest of the team, they're just grouped up. They're trying to see what they can find. Who's going to step up? You don't want the tanky targets, I can tell you that much. But that bomb, that one bomb, he gets 3. Just at 957 damage. Whew. So Joshy is certainly swinging as well. He finally stacked up that tablet and Charon's coin. So we'll be zooming around the map, doing plenty. It's off the back of a good team fight, though. That's what either one of these squads needs at the moment. Xibalba Storm did climb ahead gold-wise, but kills still in favor of the Wardens.
And all the additional cooldown reset that you see out of Mando as well. Picks up the Jotun's Cunning. So once he gets a couple of stacks on there in the middle of a fight, extra cooldown on his abilities, temporal beads as well. Probably not ideal to use it for the extra cooldown, but
when you know you're going to win,
has that opportunity.
Nice.
When you know you're winning that 1v1,
yep.
Yeah, you pop that ahead of time to help you out. Damage galore from Mando so far this game. Top of the charts at 50k for the Cliodhna. The Xibalba Storm maybe setting up for a gank in mid. If somebody steps up, might want it to be Slaaaash, but Slaaaash has shown just how tanky he is.
Yeah, but who's got 2 bombs and wants a Phoenix down? That'd be the Serket. Valo has access to that one. Mando!
Ooh.
Happy he dodged
That's
that
not
one.
Fun.
Yeah, he could have been completely shut down there. Leon is going to have to deal with a little bit of a wraparound there from MaIachi, but this Cliodhna isn't looking too healthy. Wants to get healed up. Probably sit back, but remember, right side Phoenix is down. Minions have been pinged. Someone's going to have to go deal with them, as well as the Lizards in mid lane. I mean, the Xibalba Storm, they have a lot of avenues to split up the team fight and just focus on structures. Do a little bit of damage, maybe blink in with Dingo, but pull down the Phoenix. So it looks like they're not going to continue this push. Maybe set up a bit of an ambush, and actually that may be the call.
40 seconds left on the Fire Giant for Xibalba Storm. They can set up for the next one. Valo's still got both runic bombs in inventory. It's going to be a few minutes before they can buy, or not buy, you know, try and go for another one, I should say.
Wow,
this
jungler hasn't warded in like 2 minutes. What
bro,
a
he
bum.
really he's been he dropped a ward to pick up the bomb earlier, and then I guess dropped whatever else he had in inventory just to grab another one at this point. I mean,
He's still awarded more than Mando, so
Are you kidding?
I'll accept it. Mando's got 3 in
He's got the
inventory, and
80s
that still wouldn't
Bro,
catch
he's
him
on
up.
the ADC mentality. Wards, slow down the build. I gotta get full items before I get it.
And
But
you can't put wards in the wall either.
True. Imagine if you could. Look at speaking of wards, look at all the blue wards on this side of the map for the Kaolin Wardens, ready to now fight at the Fire Giant. Xibalba Storm have advantage in the pit for now. The bomb on a Dingodile, some good damage.
Mando.
Look at Mando's HP bar melting from Joshy. Slaaaash is eating some of the damage from Vyye, but much healthier than Mando. He's gonna have to find a camp or maybe go back to base just to resustain.
One more Fire Giant wave, or fire wave in this case over on the right side of the map as Vyye loses the beads. And surging forward are the Wardens. They want to take this fight, but in goes Dingo as well.
Dingodile gonna pull back just Slaaaash. He's almost down. Finds a chain onto him. Slaaaash gone. Mando has found the first kill of the fight. And Valo goes back in, finds Tubahh. But look at the damage return that Joshy has put out in with just the Path of Flames alone. Not quite healthy enough for the Fire Giant is the Xibalba Storm.
Mando.
But they will make their way back through. Mando
Tubahh.
inside the wall. Big damage onto Oceans. Mando, Aegis and beads down, but a double stun. A flop in. It's not enough yet. Mando down, but that is quite a lot back. Elleon cuts the path open for him and Oceans to retreat, but it's 3 versus 2. Oceans taunted back, chain off the mark, and a jump out. Oceans and
Oh, the
Leon
juke.
should be fine, but they're just buying time. Never mind. Vye's damage just too much.
Yeah, but there's no way they do Fire Giant. I mean, they can try. It's going to take a bit. Slaaaash can teleport in 20 seconds. I mean, yeah, Leon
There's
can.
no way.
It's going to take them so long to do this, and Leon is clearly here. He's going to step on a ward here shortly. He just has to stall for Slaaaash, then they can probably just try and fight this.
They know he's there.
Yep. All he has to do is stall, and he's playing this perfectly. It's going to take them a while. But remember, they've got double bombs. They have easy confirm if they can just get it low enough.
That is 2,000 damage in Valo's pocket. All he's got to do is drop them at some point. Throw him down, but Leon is stopping him. Valo, the Fire Giant, goes to the Xibalba Storm. A kill on Elleon. He's just too little too late. Still holding on
He didn't even
to the
use
bombs
them.
or Valos. He doesn't need them, he says. When are we ever going to waste our consumables here when I can grab a double kill for my team? And 43 minutes in, we get another fire for the Storm.
I'm amazed that he didn't even use them. Like, that's wild.
He's going for a record of how long can I hold on to a
How
runic
long?
bomb.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's like, I just don't want to
Bro,
ward.
that's-
I don't want an excuse to not ward.
Bro, that's 66 gold in pocket right there if he sold them both.
I think he just
He would
doesn't-
get more value if he sold them at this point
Yep.
for a ward.
I mean, hey, it worked out. There was no steal attempt. And now, mid-Phoenix being looked at. You got no backline dive unless
here
Oceans
we
is
go.
flopping in, but you got to play this as safely as you can.
No, not gonna. Nope. Is he saving him for next
He's saving
game?
it for next game, man. What do you mean?
He's saying, you know what? Next set, I've got them ready. We'll
There's
keep it-
one.
Oh wait, there's one of them down, and now they got one Phoenix left. That's a new ward he can buy, Trelly, but right now he doesn't need them. Instead, the team backs away while he continues to. I think that's the original one that he's still holding.
I wouldn't be
on to.
surprised if he goes back to Pyro to refill.
It is up. They
Yeah.
could grab it.
They could grab it, and he could.
Good
but
lord.
Oni Fury is on the call. I mean, it's just so difficult, it seems, to keep Tubahh alive. Joshy's been doing plenty of damage, but this Freya in particular has been very difficult to actually survive these team fights because of how much dive is on the side of the Xibalba Storm. And also, it's difficult to figure out who the Wardens even want to dive. I mean, I think the call should be Mando no matter what, and they've been able to find him sometimes, but Vyye is still doing plenty of damage. This Tiamat is online. And in this case, Valo has plenty of CC as well. The setup for that damage. It's been Dingo blink ulting in, MaIachi using that ultimate, and then just setting up for Mando and Vyye. It's been working out for him. The Xibalba Storm, for the first time in the game, climb ahead kills-wise, and they've been ahead gold-wise for a bit. They do have one runic bomb in hand, and they have EFG for another minute 45. They're going to march in towards the left side of the map and see what they can do. Amp Armor was picked up by Slaaaash, though. That will help a little bit.
Oni fire minions in mid and right. That forces the hand of Elleon to the opposite end. Dingodile goes in, doesn't pull anybody with the ultimate this time, but does get a couple sets of beads as Valo Walks to the back line to keep a couple of them out. The Phoenix is down. All 3 gone. But Xibalba Storm are taking their time before walking up to the pit, waiting for a minion wave to help out. Both runic bombs are gone. Slaaaash to the back line. Double stun on a Valo and Tubahh, but Oceans is being bursted by the damage of this Tiamat. The Xibalba Storm are still poking through.
Yeah, they're going to have to deal with these fire minions, though. That poke will start to add up onto the Titan. This fight does seem in favor of the Wardens just HP-wise, but you don't got to kill. You got to kill the Titan, and the Xibalba Storm are hungry for it. They're going to go in.
Oceans flops in. Titan at half HP does not stand a chance. The Xibalba Storm, with their unconventional style of play, with their unconventional picks, the double assassin works in game 2, and it works in game 3 to find themselves the set.
Mando with that Cliodhna pick carries them through the early game. I saw some plenty of good strats towards the late. I think Elleon was lurking a bit, sort of trying to figure out when he could go into this team. Slaaaash seemed unkillable at times. But the real play was, I think, keeping the carries alive from that much dive proved too difficult. Oceans only had a finite amount of peel, and as a Bacchus, if you're flopping in as peel, you're probably dying yourself in this case. So trying to keep those carries alive was just too difficult.
Unbelievable game 3 that we've got to witness here, Charlie. The constant back and forth throughout that game where the lead never felt out of reach for either team, even if one was up and ahead, in quotes, just because of gold value. It was never much. It was only 3,000-4,000 here and there until that very late stage of the game. MandoWarrior, until those last couple of team fights, really felt like he was going unchecked for so long in the game. But when we talk about this team, it's something we mentioned on the round table. They got to pull out some weird tricks if they want to find a win against some of these teams, and they do so in game 2 and in game number 3. Xibalba Storm get the victory. That's it for us on the cast. Throw it to the desk to break it down.
Back and forth, as J-Max says, honestly might even be an injustice, even though it's exactly what it was, right? I mean, it is the ping-pong version of Smite is what we got to see. Leads constantly going from one side to the other, kills constantly going from one side to the other. And then towards the end, it took a little while, 40 minutes, becomes a little more consistent there for the Storm. And they play it safe a couple of times, but they still manage to get the job done, take the Titan down. And going into this, the draft, we were a little confused, but they managed to make it work again.
Unorthodox, I suppose, wins the day this time around. Get MandoWarrior on literally anything but a hunter, and things start to work out, or a magical hunter, or whatever type of hunter. As long as he's not shooting ranged autos, MandoWarrior's
Those autos need
good.
to stop sometime within 5 units.
5, 10, 15 units at max if he's using a spear character. But otherwise, keep it short range. The rest of the team looks incredibly good. This is another match, I think, where Xibalba Storm finds themselves in a couple of miracle situations. I don't think the Wardens could secure objective given 100 tries, considering how that set had won. Because like Fire Giants, Gold Furies, Pyromancers, doesn't matter. They couldn't last him. They couldn't steal him either.
It was a fun game to watch. I mean, again, back and forth, like you said. There was a lot in that is theatrical, I think is the way I would describe it, right? Well, maybe not like, this is now when we get into an argument of like cinema versus movie. I'm thinking like you're just popping popcorn because it's like, man, whatever, brain off entertainment on, and that's what we got out of that game. But you don't got to take it from me. Got one of the players from the Storm standing by.
That's right. I've got Dingodile, the support for the Xibalba Storm, standing by with me for our post-game interview. Congrats, first off, on your victory. A long-fought one, a 3 full game, our first and so far only 3-game set of the event at the moment. Talk to me about these double assassins, man, because it's some nasty nonsense that we just got to watch in Game 2 and in Game 3. Tell me a little bit about them.
It's just broken. Bluestone, Heartseeker, Crusher. That's GG.
Just GG.
Guys, assassins kill faster or kill tanks faster than ADCs.
Well, fair enough there. I mean, it worked out real well for you guys in those last couple of games out there. Also, kind of talk to me about the fact that Valo held on to the runic bombs for like what felt like 30 minutes during that game, always had one in inventory. Was he just waiting for the perfect Phoenix Siege, or was he kind of just even forgetting he had them?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it felt like for a moment he was just holding on there. Now, talk to me a little bit about Dingodile, just because going into this event, this wasn't really a team. Your team wasn't really one that was seen by a lot of fans, even by the casters that was maybe going to make it too far through. Finding a win over a team like this, I mean, how does it feel for your squad moving forward?
Well, you came to run it down. That's what we did.
Came to run it down, says Dingodile for the Xibalba Storm. Congrats on the win, the 2-1 hard-fought victory. Throw back over to Des to keep it going.
Run it down. As a strategy that the Xibalba Storm, let's call it as the brand, right?
Sure.
It's when it was the Fun Havers Granted, none of those players have made it now onto this current iteration, but it went from them to Storm
they're on the Wardens
to
now.
what is now there. And unfortunately for the Wardens, I don't think Run It Down was what was happening. What we saw there, though, from the Storm matches up in my mind with what that brand had been doing all last year, and the team being able to do very similar plays towards that. And Mifflin, you heard it from Dingodile straight, which is just that the Assassins are going to kill the tanks faster than Hunters, and if they're feeling a little more confident in the Cliodhna or the Loki over in the long lane, they're going to make it happen.
And they made it happen here up against the Kaolin Wardens. An impressive win, to be sure. I had actually sat down with them before this set, and I said, hey, guys, what's the plan for today? Are you feeling? Are you feeling confident? And they said, no. MandoWarrior looks at me dead in my eyes and goes, no. I was like, you think you get some wins this weekend? He's like, I don't think so. Probably get a kill, though. At least one kill. I said, get the kill onto Elleon, you might look pretty good. And he looked at me so earnest. He said, that's a good strategy. That's going to work out. I think they have gone above and beyond their expectations here, man. Finding the set win, so impressive. Love to see them make a quick bounce back, too. I mean, that game one, that was a tough one, but from there has been clean. And the Xibalba Storm clearly got something cooking up.
It's really funny you say that, though, because I walked in there, and it was during set number 3. And it must have been during a break. I was refilling my water bottle, and Mando is just like, I'd say, hey, like, how you guys feeling? And he goes, yeah, pretty good. And the rest of the team started clowning him. They're like, dude, no, that's the moment when you're supposed to say, like, yeah, I'm going to just, like, straight up solo Tubahh. Like, this is going to be easy.
I mean, he did.
We're going to win. It was very laid back, let's say relaxed. Very different than what I saw on the cameras after they get that win. So I think you are very much absolutely correct. They went above their expectations, and they managed to make this one look really good. The Storm, who came in, I think in everybody's mind, one of the lower seeds of the tournament, and maybe one of the ones that if you were expecting someone to get eliminated the quickest, they were on that list. Now they're sitting up in the winner's bracket feeling pretty comfortable. All the Wardens will find themselves eliminated. In case you want a visual, which admittedly I do better with it anyway, here's what you can expect to see. The Storm will now find themselves up against the Gladiators tomorrow. As we'll watch them, the Wargs, the Tanuki will be playing, the match I had just mentioned. And then, unfortunately now for the Wardens, they find themselves in the loser's bracket. A very difficult run, and you can see how long of a run it will be. All the way, it's Wednesday that they got knocked down there. Sunday is when that qualifying match, that very last one, will actually happen for them. So a lot of work to be done. For either path, what is that, 5 more sets of Smite that they have to win in a row without losing. It is a gauntlet in the bottom, and that's your Titans, Valkyries, Sages, and Wardens fighting for one spot that they'll be able to get from down there. Up at the top, you'll have a few teams still patiently waiting to see if you're the Scorpions, you find yourselves comfortable. Hounds find yourselves comfortable. Gladiators, Warriors, we haven't seen yet. And they're, of course, fighting for a spot up there in the winners finals. So a lot of pressure still on, but Mifflin, this is the kind of tournament that is, I mean, quite like it. This sounds like an exaggeration, but it is not. It is literally life-changing for the players. You make it into the SBL, suddenly you're salaried, you're scrimming every week, you're here on land in Georgia playing all the time with the best of the best. This is something that I think a lot of these players have been looking forward to, and today we've got some surprises. I'm looking forward to the rest of the week.
I mean, it's as simple as this. You buy yourself a year where you don't have to worry about your finances. You don't have to worry about getting onto a team. And the best way to stay and get into the SPL is to get into the SPL. Once you're there and your name's been seen and recognized, it's pretty likely that you get to stick around for a good long while. These players are fighting for one of the biggest privileges Smite has to offer.
Well, Dave's been saying it all day. 6 teams that are already there. 2 teams left to find out. We're one step closer with the day closing out. We're going to start it up again tomorrow at 11 a.m., so we'll see you then. But for now, take care.